Good evening, Internet, and welcome to episode 55 of Counter at Your Own Risk, where in our third annual holiday special, Kent, Kevin, and Chris are going to be talking about something outside of horror, or horror-adjacent things. This year, we decided to cover our favorite musicals, so we're going to be hitting our top fives up. I've had a really weird month. Apparently, Kent and I both chipped a tooth on Christmas Eve, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing very well. I had COVID this month, like a week before Christmas. And then this week, well, I did one of my movies before that, but this week I've done one musical a day, the 4 days I worked. And it has been such a great week because of that. I'd wake up in the morning, watch a musical, and I really needed it, and I didn't know. So I want to definitely thank Kent for coming up with this because sometimes you need a week of musicals.
I kind of was dreading this, but I don't know. I think the past 3 days I've been watching musicals, and by and large, I've had a mostly good time with one exception. And, not to one up Kevin's COVID, but I did almost die, and I had to go to the hospital and get a fucking operation. So I had my gallbladder removed because it was infected because, that's what happens. And Nathan Latour discharged me on a Thursday, and I waited till Sunday to go to another hospital to find out how bad it really was. And yeah, it was a good time. It was fun to find out that I was very close to sepsis. And all in all, I'm really, really, really happy with Nathan Latour. And I'm definitely not going to be, trashing them later on, probably.
I mean, is there a lawsuit coming in the future?
I'm actively looking into a lawyer, yeah.
Oh, sounds like it's going to be a fun year.
Hey, I mean, you discharge somebody that's clearly fucking not well. I don't really know like what else to do with that.
I mean, get paid.
Like
that's what you do.
Had I not gone to Ellis on that Sunday, I've had 2 or 3 doctors tell me like a day or two later I would have ended up having sepsis, and then I mean, if you guys know anything about that, like that can kill you within it doesn't take long if untreated.
Yeah, Kevin and I would have been doing a 2-person podcast, and it would have been a shitty month. So I'm glad you went.
Yeah,
and it would have never been there.
There we go. So, with that being said, yeah, everything else is going good aside from the fucking tooth thing, which, Chris and I are just twinsies, and that's just adorable. And, yeah, I'm excited for this, so I'll shut up now.
All right, so, I mean, now that we got our little intro done, Kevin, you want to just kick us off? I mean, you said you had a good week, so I'm hoping you got some deep cuts going.
Yeah. All right. So top 5 musicals. Number 5, Clockwork Orange. Thankfully, this is the most traditional musical that I have on my list.
The most traditional.
Yeah. And you're all lucky because of it. No, I'm kidding. Number 5 is Rock and Roll High School, 1979, directed by Alan Arkish. Also, it's executive produced by Joe Dante, and I guess he directed some of it while the other guy was suffering through exhaustion. But this is actually my most unconventional musical, featuring mostly the music of the Ramones, Clint Howard, with an underground racket in the boys' bathroom, PJ Soul's musical number of Rock and Roll High School in the girls' gym class. PJ Souls plays Ramones superfan Riff Randall, who writes a song she wants the Ramones to play, except for the new principal, Togar, at Vince Lombardi High School, takes Riff's ticket for the concert, so they have to find another way for Riff and her best friend, Kate Rumbo, to meet their musical heroes. This one is cool because it's basically just a long Ramones music video. There is a little bit of Alice Cooper. It was originally, I think, made to be like Cheap Trick and maybe another band, but they had no interest in it, and the Ramones had, I think, only one album out, and they agreed to do it. And this is also Roger Corman had something in it. I think it's a Roger Corman Presents. And I was actually more familiar with Rock and Roll High School Forever, which was a sequel to this, and I think the principal is really the only connecting factor to it, but that starred Corey Feldman, and that one was pretty ridiculous, but I was a big Corey, both the two Coreys fan, so yeah, so Rock and Roll High School, Ramones, Ramones. You guys
I've never seen it. I do kind of vaguely remember Rock and Roll High School Forever, though. I don't know if I saw it, though. What about you, Kent?
I have not seen it. So I have nothing to offer other than I actually think it is something I would really enjoy. But yeah, just where is it available for streaming, Kevin? Peacock, all right. Perfect.
Damn you, Peacock.
Do you not have Peacock?
No, it's like the one I don't have, and like a bunch of stuff that I was watching that was on Hulu got shoved over to Peacock when they decided to have like their falling out.
What is going on with like? I feel like HBO keeps advertising Hulu, and so does Disney, and Vudu keeps advertising Peacock. It's very weird. Like, there's a lot of odd partnerships going on in the streaming land as of late, and I'm confused by it.
Well, I think Disney merged with Hulu.
Yeah, Disney.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
Sorry. Disney was the main partner for Hulu. I forgot who the other partner, maybe Comcast, for the two of them. And then they just they just bought it out. So Hulu is probably going to be merging into Disney Plus.
Well, I mean, that was always the idea. I mean, that's how it is actually, like, over in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, if you noticed, they just started putting like a Hulu button into Disney Plus for you to look at, and they also have a Disney Plus button on Hulu for you to watch.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was referring to. I just found it, like... I found it weird, though, that I'm pretty sure HBO was also doing something with Hulu, and that was the confusing thing to me.
I know that Netflix got a bunch of the DC movies also.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is that recently streamers have been licensing shit because of how expensive it's getting for them to try to run stuff just by themselves.
So it still feels like it's just a loop of money that's just eating itself.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there.
Anyways, all right. So number 4. Dancer in the Dark, 2000, directed by Lars von Trier. This is a factory worker, played by Bjork, has a degenerative eye condition and is saving money for a surgery so her son won't have to suffer the same fate as her. Shot on a handheld camera is the same look as Lars von Trier's Dogma 95 films. We follow the single immigrant mother's love of music, and also there's tons of rehearsing of the Sound of Music with the play she does. So there's a lot of Sound of Music being, sang and done in these rehearsals, and Bjork just singing My Favorite Things a cappella, which is one of my favorite things actually. But not until 40 minutes do we get our first original music number, which all of the music was written by Bjork. This film's joyful music numbers are brought down in tone by selfishness, greed, and deceit. It's fun and interesting as it is sad and upsetting. This musical is one of a kind, as the music is mostly written by Bjork, and the song I've Seen It All was nominated for an Academy Award, and also was Von Trier nominated in Sion. I'm guessing someone else who participated in the lyric writing. It was a song. And the film also features great performances by Catherine Deneuve, David Morse, and Peter Stormare. Uh, this movie's super, super sad. This one was kind of a bummer, but if you guys familiar?
Of course
I'm
not.
I'm familiar with it. I've never watched it. Yeah, I had another buddy who actually kind of reminded me of you in your movie taste, Kevin. His name was Isaiah, and we went to college down here together. I have no idea where the fuck he is now, but like this was his favorite movie ever. I'm like, that says a lot about you, Isaiah. That your favorite movie is something so depressing. Yeah, I like looking at the cast. It's got a great cast too, like Joel Grey, the guy who was the original MC in what the hell was that? Cabaret. I recommend, Zeltro Ivanek as well. Siobhan Fallon, Udo Kier. Yeah, so yeah. I've never heard the music though, so like so you're saying it's got like happy songs and mostly depressing songs, or it's just all depressing?
No, the songs are pretty cool. They're Bjork, but the context of the movie is pretty depressing. But also the factory worker, she is going for a play, auditioning and then doing rehearsals for being Maria in The Sound of Music. So there's a lot of that as a common theme, but I think there's only like 8 original songs in it, and there is a soundtrack for it, and I think there's some added music that isn't in there because it's kind of like it's like the soundtrack and kind of like a Bjork album at the same time, and with like different people singing, not like David Morse has a part and Peter Stormare has a part, and they have different people singing that stuff. But yeah, it's hard to watch, but you guys, that's how Lars von Trier does it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything by him that was not super difficult to deal with.
Yeah. His first, I think I watched his first movie. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but that one was like a sci-fi film, and it wasn't super brutal or made me feel like I needed to take a shower or question my morals. So my number three is Hairspray, 2007, directed by Adam Shankman. Screenplay by Leslie Dixon, music by Mark Shaman, based on the John Waters film, which was turned into a musical by Mark O'Donnell and Thomas Meehan. Based in Baltimore in 1962, Hairspray is a story of the pleasantly plump Tracy Turnblad, played by Nikki Blonsky, a teenager as she pursues stardom as a dancer on a local TV dance show and rallies against a racial segregation. This movie is great. The music, dancing, and the cast is terrific. It takes serious issues of racism, body shaming, classism, and handles it in a very mature yet fun and energetic way. And somehow this has a PG rating, but I think John Waters said the same thing about his 1988 film, Hairspray. Uh, so the thing, when this movie came out, I didn't really care, but when I lived in St. Louis, there's this great outdoor stage called the Muni, and there's like really far back seats. You could go see any show, any play for free. You just got to go to these back places, and you could also bring in like food and alcohol into that area. So, well, I think you could like sneak it in a cup or something. But yeah, so I saw the play and the stage musical, and it was so cool. It had John Waters on this giant television set. It was incredible. So when I moved here years later and I saw it for $1 at the dollar store, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this. Like, I need more musicals, and it was really good. It really translated as like some other movies, which I'm not gonna mention because I don't know. We'll get to it later, but some films that were based on a movie that wasn't a musical, the musical movie didn't really translate, and it seems like it would. This one really did that, and even with John Travolta as Tracy's mother is better than it would seem, because it was originally played by Divine in John Waters' film, and then Harvey Fierstein on the Broadway or on Broadway. So, and also I think John Travolta's Baltimore accent is really good, but I'm not like from Baltimore. It's just because I'm obsessed with The Wire and David Simon in general. So this movie did win Best Acting Ensemble and Best Young Actress for Nikki Blonsky at the Critics' Choice Awards that year, and it is currently the 12th highest grossing movie musical, and at the time it was the highest grossing opening for a musical up until a year later when Mamma Mia came out. So, which I did not know. So, Chris, you leaving me hanging on this one too, or have you seen it?
No, I fucking love this movie. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, and like one of the big things I liked about it too is, like you said, it handled a lot of really big issues like sensitively, and it didn't just preach. You know, like if this movie had been made today, it would be so fucking preachy. But no, it was great. The cast was great. John Travolta was fucking perfect playing a woman. You know, like I never would have expected that, but he was great. Like friggin' Christopher Walken playing his husband was just a really interesting couple. And Nikki Blonsky was great in the movie for being, you know, her introductory role. So I love the movie. I actually, yeah, I forgot about that, Kevin. So thank you for reminding me.
And the rest, there's a lot of great people like James Marsden and Brittany Snow.
Wait! Don't.
You don't like James
Don't
Marsden?
don't say great and James Mars. No, those things don't go together.
He is awesome as Corny Collins. Chris?
No, there's a lot of, you know, he's one of those people. He just needs a better agent because he's done a lot of shit where it's just shit. But he's also done a lot of stuff that I've seen where I'm like, wow. I mean, I never would have guessed that this guy could actually act based upon, you know, his performances in the other stuff I've seen. You know, I will say this though: when he was in Disturbing Behavior, I was like, wow, this guy's really good. He's going to be somebody someday. And I don't know if I can stand by that, you know, completely.
Besides
I don't
that,
know.
right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I don't know. I mean, he was in Hairspray. He was good in Hairspray.
He was good in Hairspray. And I really, James Marsden movie I really like, and I agree with everything you're saying, Chris, is the remake of Straw Dogs is pretty
Oh yeah, that was
mostly because
really
of
good. Yeah.
Kate Bosworth. But you know, I don't say James Marsden is better than Dustin Hoffman, but overall the movie is great.
I mean, it let James Woods act, you know, according to his actual beliefs. So I mean,
Yeah. So you did you get a chance to check this one out, Kent?
No, if I had another day, I was going. This was like one of four movies that I really kind of wanted to get to. Mamma Mia was one because I actually just spent $5 to watch it, and I just kind of ran behind schedule. Um, I I don't know. I have like a very tiny list of like other things I just wanted to get to, and I just didn't get to. But yeah, this was on that short list. I've never seen it. I mean, I would personally watch it because I like the train wreck that is Amanda Bynes, and there's somebody else in this movie that I want to talk about, but I'm gonna wait to talk about them when I'm getting into it because there's somebody that's surprising me. So I'll leave it at that. I will watch this at some point, but it's not streaming anywhere from what I can tell, right?
No, it's out of my personal collection.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully, I guess it goes on sale often enough. I feel for like $5, so I'll just snag it when it's there.
Yeah, and it probably will show up on streaming somewhere.
Inevitably, yeah.
Okay, and also this is the only thing I really know Amanda Bynes from. I don't know. Did she do
She
like
used to be
Disney?
on that Nickelodeon show.
Nickelodeon?
I Nickelodeon used to actually have like, I don't know, in like the early 2000s, they segued and had like this game show network where they just showed reruns of like Family Double Dare and Legends of the Hidden Temple. And there was a show that she was on like every episode. And she was, that was back when she was young, before she was the complete train wreck that she became later on. And yeah, I really liked her back then too.
Anyways, respect a good train wreck. All right. Number 2, Chicago, 2002, directed by Rob Marshall. Also choreographed the film. Screenplay by Bill Condon, music by John Kander, and lyrics by Fred Ebb. Based on the 1975 stage musical by Bob Fosse and Fred Ebb, which originated from the 1926 play by Maureen Dallas Watkins of the same name. Best Picture winning musical. I think it's probably my favorite translation of a stage show into like a cinematic experience, especially like the Cell Block Tango. It's just because you can see it as a stage show, the way it's edited together, and then they edit it as like you're in the prison. Like I love the Cell Block Tango. I had low expectations for this the first time I watched it, which was well over 10 years ago, and I was pretty blown away by it. It's the best thing Renee Zellweger has ever done, before and after, I believe. I love John C. Reilly in movies you wouldn't typically think that he would be good in, especially at that time, like non-comedy, non-Will Ferrell type stuff. Boy, I like those too. And this was also John C. Reilly's first Oscar nomination. Richard Gere, I think, steals the show as Billy Flynn, and with the ventriloquist act with Renee Zellweger. Oh man, and that specifically is one of my favorite parts of the movie. And there's Catherine Zeta-Jones, who won an Oscar, and Queen Latifah, who was nominated for an Oscar for this also. I did see the stage show a few years back, and in between the intermission, this guy goes, "I just find it to be too cynical." And, there's like an older gentleman in like a polo shirt, and I was just like, okay, that's why I love it. Cause I never like watched it and was like, man, this is really cynical. I just really enjoyed it. And, it makes a lot of sense why I instantly fell in love with this. So, you guys see this one?
This is one of my wife's favorite movies, so I've seen this a ton. It's good. I mean, it's not one of my favorites. I think it's just the music for me. I like it, but it doesn't hit the same levels as like some of the ones that I prefer more. But no, I agree that it's a really good translation onto the screen. And like you said, the blocking and the staging and the framing is really unique and interesting. And to piggyback off what you said, like John C. Reilly, one of my favorite performances from him in that era was what was the? No, I fucking just draw a blank. The Magnolia. I love him in that. If you listen to the music too loud, you could injure your ears.
Yeah, I love Magnolia.
I haven't seen it because I looked at the 3 leads and I realized just how little I liked Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I only like Richard Gere in 2 movies so far. But if I dig a little deeper, aside from John C. Reilly, I see Colm Feore, who was Andre Lenoge in Storm of the Century, one of the all-time most underrated horror anything. So maybe there's a chance that I might like it. I don't know. I really don't like the 2 female leads all that much. So that has prevented me from ever really seeking this out, to be perfectly honest. What type of music? Is it like period piece music?
It's kind of vaudevillian stage show because it's about these dancers, or like Renee Zellweger's an aspiring dancer, and yeah, it's kind of like a vaudevillian stage show. And they are dancers, and they're in jail for murder, and they're yeah, it's the music is pretty good, but it's really how they translate it all together. I like what's the song where they do the ventriloquist act, the "We Both Reach for the Gun." It's so good, and I agree with you because that was how I felt about it. But I was dating this girl, we were living together. I didn't have cable, so I watched every movie she had, and that was one of them. And Richard Gere is like, he's in good movies, but I don't ever watch a movie because he's in it. And there's a couple that I actually think that he's good in, outside of just like, like Primal Fear. He's, that, yeah, sure, he's good in that, but it wasn't like, I don't know,
Yeah,
great.
that's one of the two movies.
Yeah, Days of Heaven.
Prophecies.
What was the other one?
Mothman Prophecies.
Oh yeah, no, that was pretty good too. That was surprisingly good, but also not really because of him. I mean, he was like, serviceable, but the movie was cool. So he's got like good taste. American Gigolo is cool, but also I love Paul Schrader, but it's not like, I don't know, one of my favorites of his. But the first movie that I ever saw with Richard Gere that I really thought he was a good actor is Brooklyn's Finest.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, that one. That's cool that you've seen it because I was waiting for crickets on that. But yeah,
I really liked him in The Jackal too. I'm not going to say he's a great actor in it, but I think that's an underrated.
Another good movie.
A movie from that genre, that time period.
Yeah,
like I think that was actually a much better Bruce Willis movie, but Richard Gere was pretty good in it. Yeah, like you said, Kevin. There's a lot of stuff that he's done that I'm like, it's a good movie, but I'm not a big Richard Gere fan. But yeah, there are a couple that I'm like, oh yeah, he actually can act when he puts the effort in. Red Corner was another one I think that was pretty good with him.
Yeah, his performance was pretty good in that too. I think it was better actually than the movie itself. As I remember, It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Same here.
In my early 20s, late teens. Okay, enough about Richard Gere. Number one favorite musical of all time, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, 2001, written and directed by John Cameron Mitchell. Lyrics and music by Stephen Trask, based on Mitchell and Trask's 1998 stage musical of the same name. It accompanies Hedwig, a gay East German rock singer. Hedwig subsequently develops a relationship with a younger man, Tommy, becoming his mentor and music collaborator, only to have Tommy steal her music and become a rock star. The film follows Hedwig and her backing band, The Angry Inch, and as they shadow Tommy's tour and go into Hedwig's past and her forced sex reassignment surgery. This is the only musical that I actually have the soundtrack to, and also a tribute album that was like a benefit album for like LGBTQ kids in like high school, like teenage years, for like like going to like the arts and stuff like that, like in New York City, of course. The first time I heard of this movie was on, I'm going to say Conan O'Brien, but it was some late night talk show host. I just love Conan O'Brien, so I couldn't imagine watching anything else. And also having John Cameron Mitchell on at that time, because Hedwig and the Angry Inch, I think everyone knows that now, but I mean, I heard this guy, John Cameron Mitchell, talk about the stage show he had, and that like at the same time, you know, in the same night, wherever this play was, like off Broadway, Marilyn Manson and John Tesh came to see it. But then John Cameron Mitchell goes and explains this movie, which I have trouble doing, so I just basically stole the entire first paragraph from Wikipedia to explain it because it's very complicated, sort of. Uh, and I was just blown away by it. And I worked at the video store, so when we got it, I rented it, and it was the first musical where I actually thought the music was good. It had punk rock music. Most of it's like influenced by like Lou Reed or David Bowie, uh, Iggy Pop. So, it's very early kind of punk rock stuff. But nonetheless, everybody in the Angry Inch had really good music, and it was wild. And still is, I would say, kind of wild at the time, especially getting into the plot and, it being about not really about sexual identity, but being about identity and stardom and just so much stuff. And because of Tommy Gnosis's band, played by Michael Pitt, uh, stole the music. That it's a really interesting way of how they reprise the music again, but through someone else singing it. I don't know. It's just like a really interesting way to do that. I've not seen that in the many musicals that I've seen in my life. So 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. Train is coming, and I'm tied to the tracks. So, you guys seen this? You guys heard of it at least?
I've heard of it. I've wanted to see it. I don't remember where I was when it came out, but I don't think it was playing anywhere near me. And yeah, it's not the easiest movie to find streaming either. So yeah, this is definitely something that I want to see. I've heard nothing but great things about the music, about the movie, about their off-Broadway show, about the Broadway show when they reprised it. So
I've never heard of it, so I'm really just not a musical person. I don't even know why I thought this was a great topic. I'm enjoying this whole thing, but simultaneously I'm like, I'm really kind of out of my comfort zone, if I'm being perfectly honest here. So it sounds good. I liked everything that you said describing it. I just no, I'd never heard of this.
You never heard of it? That's crazy.
No.
I mean, there was a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, but I mean a lot of dumbass people bitching about some of the topics that get covered in the movie when it came out.
Yeah, when it came out.
I mean, I may have heard. I mean, at that time, I was still doing theater. I was doing the Malarkey show. Like, there's a good chance I probably heard of it. And, as years have gone by, the memory has not served me quite well. So it's not, as I'm saying, like right now, no, this is not something I had heard of. But maybe I did, in years past.
Yeah, I think it garnered a cult following, well, because of the movie release, because it didn't really make a big splash, but because the movie came out, people started like smaller companies started buying the rights to doing the musical, and then from that, Broadway caught wind, and they got Neil Patrick Harris. A couple other people on Broadway played it before Neil Patrick Harris did, or at least one. Um, and that kind of like set it off. And they actually, John Cameron Mitchell reprised it on Broadway like 2000, I would say 10 years after the movie came out. So he actually got to play this character he created on Broadway. So it it was, and that was after the movie. So it's got an interesting story because of that. And I think John Cameron Mitchell is just genius and hilarious. And I mean, in this movie, he displays just super talented because this is his directorial debut, and he you know sings, dances, directs, just everything. And yeah, it highly recommend it. And the soundtrack kicks ass. So um, and the tribute album is pretty good too. Like They Might Be Giants is on it, and Frank Black of the Pixies, and Kim Deal and her sister, who had that band that did Wrecking Ball back in the '90s. Uh, Cyndi Lauper. It's awesome. So, but that is my
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
that's my top five.
Cool, Kevin. Very eclectic. All right, Kent, you wanna kick us off with number 5 for you?
Yes. And keep in mind, people listening to this is like the fucking most basic bitch list possible because, just kind of out of my zone. But we'll kick it off number 5 with an oldie in The Wizard of Oz. I would argue that The Wizard of Oz is the single most watched film of all time. And I mean, people can fight me on it, but I'm bigger than most people. So just don't fight me on it. I feel like it's one of those things that transcended so many generations that even if like kids today haven't seen it, there's a bunch of dead people that have seen it. Okay, so just go with it. I hadn't watched this in probably not since like the I don't know early 2000s. So it'd been a long time. But yeah, you always remember the basics of it. I forgot though just how much I enjoyed the whole like once Dorothy lands and everything to do with Munchkins. As we all, well, as most people know, I am a fan of Little People. So that whole sequence is just pure magic delight for me. They actually inspired me to go see or rent The Terror of Tiny Town, which used a lot of the cast from Wizard of Oz into a Western musical featuring Little People exclusively. And that's an interesting one to watch. It did not crack any of my list here, but still interesting. There's a lot of it's stuff that we all know. I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's one of those things that we all know. For standout performer, I have Judy Garland and Ray Bolger as the Scarecrow and Margaret Hamilton as Wicked Witch of the West. And I gotta give props to her because she got that horrible burn, like early on when there was that red flame. She got really burned, really messed up. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like on one of those things on Shudder that I saw it on. I didn't know the story at the time. It was like one of those cursed movies, and they talked about the person that may or may not have been hung, which it sounds like nobody was hung. But anyways, props to Margaret Hamilton for doing that. My favorite songs on there, aside from the Munchkin Land medley, Over the Rainbow, If I Only Had a Brain was probably like my childhood favorite one. And although it's not my favorite, it's just something we all know, like We're Off to See the Wizard. I feel like just about every song in there, you kind of just know. If you're from a certain, I don't know, 60-year gap of age, I feel like pretty much everybody knows this. So yeah, that's my number 5. I know you guys have seen it. Like, I don't really have to question this, do I?
I would agree with you on it being probably the most watched movie ever. Even if it's not the most watched, it's the most replayed movie ever. I know that's a stat. Yeah, I completely forgot that was a musical. My bad.
How could you forget?
I don't know. I think about the rest of the movie where they're just talking and not singing.
Well,
yeah.
Well, it's one of the greatest films of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I wouldn't argue with anything you said. And yeah, it was cursed films. I saw that too. And I felt the same way about how they were going through the myths, we'll say, of the movie. And that one about the guy hanging himself was one that they never confirmed that it was true or not, and they kind of left it, hanging.
Yeah, they did that horribly on that. If I'm being honest, like they're like, let's tackle this, but then let's not give any concrete. It was like you based I feel like almost half of that thing was based on the hanging, and then they didn't resolve anything. How does nobody know?
They did go through. They didn't have an answer. They didn't have an explanation for it. So I think that was kind of their way of saying, hey, there's no like nowhere has anyone confirmed that anyone hung themselves on the set of that film. Um, and they went through it a whole bunch of different ways, and then they would had like explanations of why like they changed the hanging the birds to whatever it was originally that made it look like the crane things, right? Because one of the crane things reaches down. Because I used to
Yeah.
pause it and watch it, but I didn't realize that movies had different versions. You know, like that they would redo a film for video that was done, you know, on film in the 30s. You know, like so. Uh, yeah, amazing movie. Great pick.
Thank you. Could not have gotten more basic. All right. My next one is less basic, much less viewed. Um, I don't even know if either of you have seen this, but I'm going to go with Reefer Madness, the musical. I think this debuted on Showtime once upon a time, and well, I don't know what year. It came out in 2005, so I remember it was kind of like this big deal because Neve Campbell was still relatively famous, and she was in it for like one whole scene, but she still got third billing. And I think that was all because her brother was the lead, Christian Campbell. He plays Jimmy Harper. And if you've ever seen the original Reefer Madness, like, you know, this was just a big fucking spoof on that, which in and of itself is just funny. The way that they transformed it into a musical with very catchy music, I was super impressed. It has an amazing cast with Kristen Bell, the two Campbells. Alan Cumming is really good. Anna Gasteyer from Saturday Night Live fame. John Kassir, who was the voice of the Crypt Keeper. Steven Weber, who, I mean, we've talked about him quite a few times on this podcast for horror stuff. There was also this lady who I don't know from anything else named Amy Spanger, and she plays the role of Sally DeBaines. I don't know how to pronounce it. Whatever. She probably was the standout performer in this for me. Not only was she was very attractive and wearing some skimpy outfits at times, so very easy on the eyes, but she really, really could sing. Like, I was just super, super impressed by her. And Robert Torti, I believe is his name, he plays the role of Jesus, and Jesus is only in it for like one scene, one song, but it is the best song to me, called Listen to Jesus, Jimmy, in which Jesus is trying to talk, you know, Jimmy into, you know, getting off the reefer and, you know, giving in to God. And the way that this guy portrays Jesus is like, it's so good. It's cheesy, it's corny, but yet like it's part Richard Dawson, I don't know, like talk show host, but yet it's, you know, if you could combine like what you think of Jesus and Richard Dawson, you might have this guy's portrayal. I don't know how else better to describe it. He's just fantastic. Other good songs include Reefer Madness, because in the very beginning they do this whole thing and like people turn into zombies for some fucking reason, and that's crazy in and of itself. A song called Mary Jane, Mary Lane. The Brownie song, which features an animated portion, which riding a brownie like a surfboard and or making love to a brownie in bed. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. And Little Mary Sunshine. Those are like the four standout songs to me. My favorite quote or exchange in it is Sally when she's Jimmy's like the innocent guy and they're getting him to hooked on stuff, and she's like, "So how tall are you, Jimmy?" Jimmy says, 5 feet 9 inches. She responds, "Let's forget the 5 feet and concentrate on the 9 inches." And that is classy as hell.
Gold.
So, with that being said, have either of you guys ever seen this?
This is a no for me.
Saw the original. I feel like I rented this and was sort of like thrown off and disappointed by it, but I don't actually really remember. I might have actually tried to watch the original and then saw this and was thrown off by it. But yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. Is it on streaming anywhere?
Yes, it is. I was just working on this. It's on Vudu with commercials. So, I owned a copy, oddly enough, but yeah, I originally couldn't find it, so I was like, I started watching on Vudu, then I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere. So yes, Vudu with ads, and I don't know, it's fun. You just said, like, it sounds fun. It is fun. That's what it is. It is just a lot of goofy fun, and I don't know. I realize how much I like Alan Cumming. Like, I don't even know if I knew of him before X-Men 2 as when he was Nightcrawler, but I really do appreciate his performance. So,
Well, you can't forget about Spice World. That's
you're right. You are absolutely right, because I
that?
watch Spice World like every 2 years.
I mean, you absolutely can forget about Spice World.
Chris, that's blasphemy, okay?
I mean, I think of Spice World and I actually think of like you guys, Russell, Eric.
Eric missing the turnoff to the mall every single time we were singing "Wannabe" in the car.
Yeah, we almost just like ran into someone going up towards Northville one day. Josh Steinerberg was in the car. Yeah, that was great. That was a great day. Not dying.
Yeah, I mean, any day that we don't die is a great day in my
Great
book.
day. Yeah, listening to Spice Girls.
I believe it was. I was just gonna say it was Eric who, like, just last year, I think it was like 2022. He's like, Kev, when was the last time you watched Spice World? And I was like, I don't know, because I really hadn't seen it in a while. I had watched it a ton when it first came out, so I end up that was definitely something I had to buy full price on Vudu, because I just did not want to wait for a sale. That's how much I admire that movie.
Anyways, your next musical.
What number are we on?
We're on number 2.
Number
3?
2, Spice World, directed by. No, go ahead.
Oh yeah. All right. Number 3. Cannibal the Musical. Also known as Alfred Packer the Musical. And this was basically Trey Parker and Matt Stone's coming out party before South Park. And I believe this was a college project. It looks like a fucking college project. Trauma picked it up, so therefore you know it looks like a college project with blood. It has that quirky sense of humor that the early years of South Park was more known for. Like, South Park has kind of gone in phases throughout the years, but this is definitely more like the early South Park era. Some of the songs are just utterly outrageous. It's about this group of 6 guys, and they're, well, 5 of them are miners, and they're off to find, I don't even fucking remember what it is. They're looking, and they're on an expedition. They run across these French Canadian fur trappers. They're outrageously silly in their own way. An Indian tribe made up of Asians, I think Japanese people. I'm pretty sure it's all Japanese, because all the teepees looked like Japanese flags. So there's a lot of weird comedy going on there. Inevitably, one of the guys steps into a trap, and he goes delirious, and at one point he wants to build a snowman. They sing a song called "Let's Build a Snowman." For like standout performers, there's, I would say just about like everybody, like all the main six guys, and then like the main fur trader. They're all really really funny. As far as songs go, there's That's All I'm Asking For, the Trapper song, Let's Build a Snowman, Hang the Bastard, and a song called When I Was on Top of You, a romantic ballad about being on top of a horse. So, yeah, it has a lot going for it. I would recommend it. It is on Peacock, come to find out. I don't feel bad that I ordered the DVD and I just got it today, the 13th anniversary. As we talked about earlier, it has those lovely trauma stuff early on the DVD, which brings back some fond memories. So, have either of you seen this gem?
I didn't even know it existed, so no, I have not seen it.
Oh yeah, I used to own it. I remember when and it was like I don't know if it was like re-released, but it was like it probably was released like after South Park came out, though, right? Or did it just
Yeah,
pop
I
into
don't think
circulation?
anybody really knew of it at the time. I think, probably, I don't even know if Troma had picked it up before or after South Park. Funny note is that one point you do hear Cartman's voice.
Yeah, it did have it was cool. Um, you know, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, "Is this cool?" Like, I don't. But I did love Troma when I was a kid, and I think I definitely saw Tromeo and Juliet and Terror Firmer. Um,
Teenage Cat
us,
Girls in Heat.
I yeah, I did see that one. I think Surf Nazis Must Die, Class of Nukem High. These were like the standards. Cat
What was the Kabuki one?
Sergeant Kabuki Man. Yeah,
Yes.
Sergeant Kabuki Man. Yeah, my friends got the poster of it, and like it's like the this like giant cutout, like original Trauma cutout for it. I'm like, dude, that is so cool. Like, why is that not hanging up? And he's like, well, I don't know who's gonna come over to my house, and it's like that might have not dated well. And I'm like, it's Trauma though. Like, it's
Nympho Barbarian and Dinosaur Hell.
Ooh.
oh yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that too.
I think I watched it at Eric's house.
So yeah, that was the thing. I remember like there was, I don't know, summer where I would go over, and anytime we'd go to rent something, I would intentionally make sure to try to rent something from Troma, but sometimes they'd actually have the movies for sale for like $10 used, and I was like, yes, of course. So lots of good Troma stuff down in Eric's basement. Absolutely.
That's actually probably where I saw Teenage Cat Girls in Heat.
Yeah, because I bought it for Craig.
Oh yeah, no, definitely that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, because it was like not one that I watched on my own, also.
No.
But yeah,
That's something you don't want to watch on your own. Like, there's a little bit of shame associated with that, perhaps.
yeah, and those movies are made to be watched with other people. But
Yeah.
Cannibal the Musical, I've seen it not in a while, but I definitely have watched it like 10 or 11 times in my life, if not more, because it was like one of like 5 DVDs that I owned at a time. And we had like a laptop and lots of living in hotel rooms or traveling and stuff. So, uh, you know, I watched that. I remember watching that like camping one time, like that and Mr. Show. Uh, so yeah, it was good. I don't remember where we came across it, but we, saw it physically to buy somewhere and we picked it up. Possibly Video World. I don't know.
I remember I
Oh,
originally
the
had it
mall.
on VHS, and I lost it when my house burned, but it was a really shitty copy, too. Like, I must have bought it used, and it just was not good. And I should note that realistically, I kind of wanted to just include the whole like Trey Parker, Matt Stone stuff, but like last year I think it was, I already talked about South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut as like one of my 3 favorite movies of all time. So it kind of felt redundant to go down that path. And I felt Cannibal was better than Team America, even though Team America had some really good songs, including Pearl Harbor Sucked and I Miss You. So, they're very good at what they do. I was hoping that eventually they would release like a film version of the Book of Mormon, but I don't think there's anything out there yet, is there?
Probably not while it's still as popular as it is on Broadway in touring.
Right. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, man, I wish Book of Mormon was like a movie. I would totally watch that. So, yeah, man, that brings me back. I definitely need to check that out again. So, Peacock.
Peacock, yes, for all of your trauma needs. All right, so my number 2, which I will say that I didn't necessarily stole from Chris, but Chris allowed me to borrow this pick. And I would have been super pissed off had he said it and I had not thought about it. But Jesus Christ Superstar, probably like the best music in a musical for my taste. Like the 70s, like funk. I don't even know how you describe some of the music, but it's pretty awesome. And this is one of the few soundtracks that I used to just play on my computer. I wasn't watching it. I would just listen to the whole soundtrack while doing stuff. And there wasn't many bad songs on it. Obviously, some were better than others. So one of the interesting things is like how the movie itself begins, where it's just these people arriving on this big ass bus and they have like all the props strapped to the top of the bus. I don't know. It's very interesting, and they're like all the quote unquote the key players of the movie, and it reminds me of a play I did in college. We did A Christmas Carol, and it was a very similar opening, minus the 70s hippie bus and all the props. But it was like, it was kind of like before with all the people, and then people went into their roles later on. I don't even know really where to begin. I guess I would say stand-up performer is Carl Anderson as Judas. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Is it Iscariot? Does anybody know?
Yeah, Judas Iscariot.
Okay, Judas Iscariot. Okay. Because the whole thing is yes, the whole thing's about Jesus, but it's all kind of from Judas's perspective in some ways. Bob Bingham as, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Caiaphas, I think.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Josh Mostel is King Herod. Yvonne Elliman as Mary Magdalene. And Barry Denon as Pontius Pilate. That's not to take away from the dude that played Jesus. He freaking nailed it. He did a great job. It's weird that now I've had 2 musicals where I'm praising the person playing Jesus, but both of them really did a great job, For the best song, there's so many good songs, but I would really be hard-pressed to say there's not a song better than King Herod's song. That song is hilarious. The original, how they portray it's hilarious. If you ever get a chance, if you're a fan of the song, go on YouTube and look up Alice Cooper doing that song. And that's fantastic as well. There's many covers of King Herod's song. There's some other songs, What's the Buzz, Damned for All Time, Superstar. Just a lot of fond memories for something that I never, ever, ever would have anticipated liking. I saw this in high school. I took a music class. I watched a bunch of musicals back then. Most of them did not really, do anything for me. This was probably my second favorite one. My first favorite will be coming up soon. But yeah, this was just, this hit me in a way, and I think it's mostly the music. So I'm pretty sure you've both seen this, so what are you guys thinking?
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you help us out with this one when we did it?
I did not.
Oh, okay, so that was My Fair Lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
I can
Kevin.
go with Eric to go
Yeah.
see you and
Yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar, by the way, at Colonial Theater.
Yeah, I have many fond memories of this.
Jim Black, also.
But yeah, I don't remember why my mom showed me the movie one day. She was just like, "Hey, you want to watch Jesus Christ Superstar?" I'm like, "What?" I was like, "What the fuck is that?" Yeah, I probably didn't say fuck because I would have been, like early teenager, and I used to respect my parents like they teach you to when you're a kid. But I watched it and I was like, "Wow!" Like it was one of the first like rock opera. Like all the musicals I'd really been exposed to up until that point were like classics. Like Rodgers and Hammerstein. Stephen Sondheim, that kind of My Fair Lady, Sound of Music type of music, and hearing, just like that guitar track right at the very beginning, doo, 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 doo. It blew my mind, and like I love the fact that it was kind of like a funk modernization. I mean, it wasn't super modern, but you had people dressing like they lived in the 70s. You had the tanks rolling around instead of like the Roman legions and stuff. It was a great movie. I fucking love it. I'm glad you picked it, Kent. I mean, the other one I really love that like King Herod's song is like super funny, but like the one that Simon Zealot sings is just got like so much energy in it. You know.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I also too loved this movie and watched it before I saw Chris and your brother Jay perform in this. So it was who did you play in the?
I played Caiaphas. We actually did the copy of the movie version instead of the actual stage version, so it had the two extra songs that were in the movie that they didn't have on the Broadway show. One of the cool things though is that I forgot what his name was, but the guy who was the lead singer of Deep Purple was the original guy who played Jesus on the Broadway show. And they wrote to him, Jay Lowenthal and his family, and he wrote back, and he was like, "Hey, I'd love to try to make it to your show. I don't know if I will," but he talked a little bit about when he was playing Jesus, and he was like, "Hey, good luck and break a leg." So, like, that was really fucking cool.
Yeah, yeah. This also was one that was I think my dad. I saw it on TV with my dad, and I was really impressed with it, and I think the music is great. I still think it's great. I left a lot of these types of musicals off my list because I figured Chris would be picking up the slack, or also. So yeah, I love this. So good, so good. Yeah, I picked all the cool. I'm doing the quotes right now. Cool movies. But yeah, these are undeniably like just great. My dad told me that it was sacrilegious, and I couldn't figure out why it was sacrilegious. Like I went to church and stuff when I was younger, so um, I just couldn't imagine. I was like, this is what this is what I heard in church, but like the not boring version.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it was going to be considered sacrilegious for anything, it wouldn't be for the message because I mean, it hews pretty close, and it ends where it should. I think if anything, it would be more sacrilegious because it tries to portray Jesus in the light of being a man first and Son of God second, and potentially implying that there were maybe some romantic thoughts between him and Mary Magdalene. But overall, I mean, I don't know, it's not a beautiful story because it ends with a dude. Well, it ends triumphantly, but it ends with a dude getting crucified and then coming back to life. But it's got a good message overall.
Every time I watch it, I At first, I don't know. I'm not as impressed by Yvonne Elliman as Mary Magdalene, but like by midpoint, she has like completely won me over. She is. I don't know. She was really perfect for that role. I think the more I don't know how many times I've seen it at this point, but yeah, I really liked her in it. So, all right, we're good to move on.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to add that.
Okay, cool.
Even the songs I didn't like the first time I heard it, once I like started uh, listening to the soundtrack on like cassette tape when I was a kid, uh, I would listen to it over and over again. Like "Do You Really Love Him?" Is that the song by Mary Magdalene?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that song. It gets stuck in your head, and it's probably my least favorite song, or at least was. So yeah, even the bad songs are bangers.
Or maybe it's like I don't know how to love him.
Yeah, I don't know how to love him.
I mean, I only just watched this like a few hours ago. I should be a little bit more on top of my game, but what the fuck?
I do know this, that I will say this, like, singing Caiaphas, it was like a bitch. We've been such a... Like, I can't even do it anymore. Fucking smoked too long. Oh my god. I'm
Is that
glad
what
I
you
got
played?
it. Yeah, I played the guy with the super deep voice.
Damn. Yeah, that's a role that I don't know. That's a tough one to pull off.
Yeah, and I had to walk around with no shirt on for the entire show, too. That was,
Did you also get the badass hat?
I did. It was... Mary Condon did awesome costuming for that show. I'll straight up say that. I love the boots she had me too. They had tassels.
Shout out to Mary Con
Nice.
and fantastic, badass.
All right. And my number one is... All right. It's not the best version that I've ever seen, but it is the best version for somebody that's never seen or heard this. And I'm going to go with Les Mis. I'm going to go with the, what was it, 2012 version with an absolutely ridiculous cast. Now, I'd grown up on like the PBS special where they just stood up like in front of like the Royal Albert Hall theater and were just singing, and there was like a little bit of performances, but it was mainly just people standing there singing. And I only kind of got the gist because the first time I saw it, I had a teacher and he kind of walked the class through what was happening, which was helpful, obviously. And since then, I'd seen some other film variations. Some are really not that great, but whatever. They sang the whole time, pretty much. I think they sang the whole time, if I'm not mistaken. The cast is ridiculous in both good and bad ways. Hugh Jackman as Jean Valjean, really, really good. I love Russell Crowe, but he was not right for Javert, in my opinion, because I always picture Javert as a deeper voice, a little bit more stern. Russell Crowe had the right look, just not the right voice, but he did good for what his talent is. Anne Hathaway, who I typically do not like, as a matter of fact, she was a main reason why I was hesitant to even see this, steals the fucking movie. Hands down, steals the fucking movie. She should have won every fucking award out there for supporting actress that year. She did win some. She got nominated a bit. Her performance was fucking fabulous. On the other hand, you got Amanda Seyfried, who plays the grown-up Cosette, and she didn't do anything wrong. She just didn't do anything great. I don't know. Sacha Baron Cohen and Helena Bonham Carter, because we see them in Sweeney Todd as well, but I think this came out before Sweeney Todd. I don't remember. Either way, they play the Thénardiers. I don't know, usually like a crowd favorite because they got their funny little catchy songs and whatnot. And two other people I really wanted to give props to was Samantha Barks, who plays Eponine, and Daniel Huddlestone, who plays Gavroche. Gavroche. I think it's Gavroche. He's the little
Gavroche.
He has so much fucking energy. He was great. He really he just was great. It's weird because in this version, something like Master of the House is portrayed differently than what I'm used to. But it made sense for why it was portrayed the way it was. But was it as fun as I wanted it to be? No. But if I say anything negative about that, I have a million things, well, probably like 10 positive things to say about everything Fantine did. Like, every performance I've ever seen of Fantine, she has always been the fucking Debbie Downer, ruined my good time. I've never liked an actress that portrayed her. I've just always found it to be such a bland freaking role. Anne Hathaway's portrayal, like, straight up, I mean, on a sad day, that performance can make you straight up tear up. Like, she did a fan-fucking-tastic job. And Hugh Jackman's just... He is just a talented dude. I gotta give a lot of props to him because I didn't know what to expect. I'd never heard the dude sing, and Jean Valjean's a pretty hefty role, and he did a really, really, really good job. Also, like, the guy that I originally saw play Jean Valjean was Colm Wilkinson, and he's in this version as not a priest, he was a bishop.
The bishop, yeah.
But if you do like Les Mis, check out Colm Wilkinson's portrayal as Jean Valjean. He's really freaking good. Possibly has a better voice for it than Hugh Jackman, but I think Hugh Jackman's acting is really, really good. And I don't know, like, everything just kind of works. If you've never seen Les Mis, this is probably the version to see because you'll get the whole story and then seek out other versions to see who performs songs better than what you're used to, I guess, is how I would say it. As far as, like, favorite songs go, I don't know. It's always going to be, shit. Do I not have it written down? I really do not have this written down. Wow. On My Own. Eponine's song.
Yeah, Eponine, yeah.
Like, I think that's probably possibly the best known song. She nailed it. She absolutely nailed it. Fantine's Arrest song, which I was just reading during our little break, like, Hugo, I keep on saying Hugo Weaving, the dude who wrote this, whatever. He based it on something he'd actually seen in real life, and actually the prostitute was getting accused of, like, hitting this guy, and Hugo stood up for the girl, and
Victor Hugo.
Victor Hugo, there we go. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here like I cannot find the damn name. Anyway, let's see other songs. Master of the House, Who Am I, Little People with Gavroche, and Castle on a Cloud by Little Cosette. I thought the young version of Cosette was better than Amanda Seyfried. And the opening song called Look Down, the music and, like, I don't know, everything about it is just sets the whole fucking downtrodden mood of the whole thing, and they did an amazing job with it in this film version. Les Mis is my favorite musical of all time, so I felt, even though there were some things in this film that I didn't like as much as other versions, this still had to be my number one. Like, it just made sense. This, along with Jesus Christ Superstar, by far, like, out of musicals, these are the two that I listen to the most without, like, watching it, just listening to it on my computer while gaming or reading or whatever the fuck I was doing. And with that, I'm hoping that both of you have seen it, but I don't know.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I have not seen this. I definitely should have. Yeah, I see that it is free on YouTube, so I need to check that out. But I think it was something that normally when I went to look for it, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't on anything. It was always that other one with Uma Thurman that was not a musical.
Yeah, the one with her and Liam Neeson.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah,
that great.
yeah.
This is
Yeah,
not
I did
available
see.
to stream anywhere.
Yeah, YouTube it's free, and
Okay.
and it should be a decent. It should be like a decent quality. When it's listed like that. Um, yeah, Tom Hooper too, because I really like the King's Speech, and yeah, this is Anne Hathaway did win an Academy Award. Also feel the same way about Anne Hathaway. The only um, other movie that I really like her in is Brokeback Mountain, of all things. Uh, that was the first movie I saw, and I was like, oh man, she can really. She's like an actress, like a real actress.
I liked her as Catwoman, kind of. Like, she wasn't great,
Yeah,
but
well,
I thought she filled the role quite nicely.
serviceable for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Wasn't no Michelle Pfeiffer, but a different take on the character, so I didn't mind it.
Yeah, so yeah, I need to watch this. It sounds great. Sacha Baron Cohen, I had no idea that he was in this. And yeah, I
He's
did
a
see.
perfect scumbag, dude. He is
Oh,
always great.
oh, always, always big fan of Ali G. Um, I did see the musical that you were talking about, Mr. Goodemo, our music
Yeah,
teacher.
yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to him. Yeah, he was. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but
I don't
if
know if
he
he
is,
is
shout out to
either.
him. If not, R.I.P. Um, but yeah, he was. Yeah, his class was great because he just watched movies and they were musicals. That was the downside. The plus side is that you watched movies and sometimes they were Les Mis, the stage show, and I remember being disappointed that it wasn't like a musical movie. And then I remember Hello Dolly also he played because uh,
Uh,
some of it was the last scene was shot in New York somewhere close to us. So yeah,
yeah, that
so that's
class
all I
was
got.
one of my favorite. Like, I think I learned more from that class than I did any other single class in high school because not only did I learn a bunch of the names of like classical music songs that I knew but I didn't know the names of or who like wrote them. Like, I walked away from that class with a ton of info that I did not have prior, and I can't say that about a ton of classes, really.
Yeah, same. Like I really retained a lot of that. Like I remember that Hello Dolly thing, and I don't really talk about Hello Dolly ever.
I want to also mention that I think it's just how the character is written, but I have never liked anybody that plays Marius. And I usually like whoever plays, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Enholras?
I always just said Angel Ross, but I don't know if that's
Yeah,
correct or not.
I don't know, but like this version of, we'll go with Angel Ross, he wasn't nearly as manly. Like I wanted a little bit more deep voice and like, I don't know, some more ruggedness to him. I think they kind of got him a little wrong, even though I know he's supposed to be like a college student, so it's kind of tough, but I don't know. Anyway,
Marius, you're speaking of?
yes.
Yeah. So Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah, Eddie Redmayne, I just...
Yeah, they got. So it should be like a burly kind of.
No, Marius should be exactly what he was. I just don't ever like him. Basically, he should have been played by James Marsden, okay? Like, there we go. Fucking Cyclops, there we go.
Not the Danish girl.
He should have been played by James Marsden, and then Angel Ross should have been played by fucking what's his name from The Faculty. That would have made.
Oh my god.
I want. I want a collaboration between Method Man, Redman, and Eddie Redmayne. So it'd be Meth, Red, and Redmayne.
I
That would
listen
roll.
to that.
Yeah. Well, no, like a TV show, like a film or something. You know, like
I mean, if we
How
can
High
have
3?
Red and Red?
Yeah, is there a How
we
High
can
3?
have
There should
Snoop
be
and
How High
Martha
3.
Stewart, we should be able to have that collaboration going on. Ken, I'm really glad you added this one because then I didn't have to have it on my list. And yeah, it's a good movie. A lot of what you said is just it's spot on. I'm glad it echoes too how I feel like the beginning really sells the setting. You know, like it's one thing to hear them. I don't want to say whining, but whining in the musical, but another to see them, you know, actually hauling, you know, sunken ships out of the sea by muscle arm strength. You know, like that kind of puts it in perspective how shitty it was for him. And yeah, Anne Hathaway fucking crushed it in this. I mean, the only other thing I would say is it like this showed me like how much Hugh Jackman is willing to go out when he gets a role that he wants to do. You know, like he really wanted to do Valjean. Like he's a big stage actor in addition to, you know, his work he's done in movies. So he actively courted trying to get the part. And yeah, it shows. Same kind of thing like when he did Greatest Showman. You can definitely tell that it's like a passion project for him.
Yeah, both of those are the only two things I've ever heard him sing, but both of them really surprised me. I've never seen him do any of the stage stuff. Do you know like what stuff he's done on stage? Like, was it popular stuff?
I mean, he's done a ton of stuff. I haven't ever seen it because, you know, I haven't been living in New York for, you know, 20 some odd years, but
He's performed like at the Tonys. I think he hosted the Tonys one year, and I've seen like stage, I don't know, things that he's done on stage, but like I think the Oscars one time he had like a musical number or something, or maybe it was the Golden Globes. I don't remember exactly what, but um I've seen him, yeah, I've seen him sing. I feel like I've seen him do like a song on Ellen before, to tell you the truth. Um The Greatest Showman rules. Well, maybe not rules, but Michelle Williams forever.
Chris, what'd you think about Russell Crowe?
he wasn't bad. You know, I don't like.
He tried, right? Like he tried, but it just
It's weird too because, you know, he's got a band, so you know he can sing. I mean, it's he maybe not like the greatest sing, but you know he's had experience, and yeah, I feel like there were people who maybe had less experience who came in and knocked it out of the park. But I don't know. You know, like,
Do you think he got it because of name quality?
I mean, back then, yeah, like I don't think he would have got it by name quality now.
No, probably not. Although I really liked how he looked in that last Thor movie as Zeus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, looking good. All right, that's my list.
All right. Well, I'll start with my number 5 then, and this is probably the one on this list that I've listened to the most, and maybe my most. Oh, shit! Before I get there, one last thing I want to say about Les Mis. I don't remember if this is the case, but I do remember when I was watching it, it felt like they maybe cut some stuff from the the Broadway version. I want to say, I think if you listen to the original London recording, it's almost 3 hours long between the two discs, and the movie's only like 2 hours and 38 minutes, and that's with, you know, all of like the shots where there's no singing or talking or speaking or anything. So
I think it has something to do. I feel they cut some corners around the stuff with the students and the barricade. I feel like the barricade stuff is longer in like theatrical productions.
I would say, I don't remember it's been a while since I've listened to the soundtrack or watched the movie, but I feel like they cut some of maybe like the chorus parts, you know, like maybe towards the beginning, especially like in between when, you know, he's becoming, you know, stopping being prisoner 24601 and becoming, you know, Jean Valjean, the mayor of, I forgot what fucking city it was. But, yeah, it felt like maybe there was like 20 minutes or so cut. I don't know if this was the case, but
I would say there's at least 10 minutes cut, and I think you're right with the chorus, and I think, you know, maybe you could cut some corners because you're doing it visually. You don't need to have as long of the just music. Maybe that was the thought process. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
I think you are right.
I mean, even what was it, 10 years ago when it came out? I mean, expecting people to sit through a 3-hour movie wasn't something like they do now, where they're like 3 hours is like the new 2 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, to get back to my number 5. I don't know if this would surprise either of you, but is Rent. I always feel like kind of semi-conscious when I talk about these movies. Like Kevin's like, this came out in this year and was written and directed, and I'm like, yeah, it was just Rent, But it came out in 2005, which was maybe like 6 or so years after. At least after I remember it being big. One New Year's Eve party, Corey Finkel brought it over to my house and put it on and like changed my life. But I find it interesting that this, is a musical modernized take on the opera La Boheme, and my number 2 is also a modernized take on La Boheme. But I saw the show on Broadway. I want to say maybe in 2001. No, it had to be before that. 99, maybe. Clinton was still president when I saw it because he showed up with Hillary and Chelsea for her birthday. And I was sitting like 4 seats away from the president while we watched the show, which was cool because that was probably the only reason we got to see the entire original cast, was because they showed up for a matinee instead of seeing the night show, which makes me ask the question why they brought back like 6 out of the main 8 cast members from the original show, and then they recast 2 of them. I don't know why that happened, but it takes place on holidays. I don't want to say like Team America parodied it with the whole AIDS song, because in the show, like, everybody's got fucking AIDS, which is, it's not really funny, but like the amount of it that was going around was. I haven't seen Click Click Boom, the one with Andrew Garfield, where it's about Jonathan Larson actually writing this, but I've heard that's really good too. But I don't know. It was one of the first musicals I heard, where it wasn't a musical, and it wasn't like rock but dated. Like even Jesus Christ Superstar, for being rock, it's still 70s funk basically. This was like the first thing I'd heard where it was like the songs were like something you could potentially hear like on the radio, while for the time period that you were living in. Obviously, not so much anymore since it's 20 some odd years. But besides the fact that they recast a couple people, the one thing I missed between the show and the movie version, and you don't even get this in just listening to the soundtrack, but there's like probably about 20 minutes of show where it's just speaking, so there's no songs during the show, and it like recontextualizes some of the characters. Like in the movie and the show, Taye Diggs plays Benny, the landlord, who's getting ready to kick them out. And he's kind of betrayed like their whole bohemian attitude that they had initially when they were all living together, and he's now become like a yuppie, and he's their landlord, and married into a rich family. So I mean, that's pretty much all of the characterization you get from him in the movie. And in the show, you find out that when Angel dies in Act 2, Benny knew that Angel was the one who kind of played the drums until his dog took a dive off the balcony, and he hated that dog. And he's actually the one who pays for Angel's funeral to happen, without letting everybody else know. So it was an interesting thing to see and not realize, because it's never mentioned anywhere in the booklet and the CDs, because it's not sung, it's just a spoken part. But I love this. A lot of the guys didn't go on to have too much more of a career, but then you have people like Jesse Martin having a pretty successful television career. I mean, Idina Menzel in Frozen winning an Oscar for, the song that she sang. Taye Diggs kind of blowing up acting wise more than just about any of the other people in there. So I find that interesting. And the last thing I'll say is when you're, at least when I was watching the original show on Broadway, Mark is filming a movie over the course of the show that's going on, and they put it up at the very end while they're singing the last song, and it's cutting through all the pictures of the people in the show that they've filmed on the streets of New York and whatnot, and then it ends with just a big picture of Jonathan Larson and rest in peace. I forgot what his actual death date was, but they put it up at the bottom, and I felt that was very moving when I saw it. So that's my little rent asides.
So I also saw the original Broadway musical. I was 16, so I think it was like 98. 90, I was born in 81, so 97. Yeah, it was it was so good. It was at the time like the cooler musical, and besides like Jesus Christ Superstar, but it wasn't full on like rock and roll music. But I mean, they had an electric guitar player, and my limited of things I've seen on stage, that was definitely something different. And like there was swearing, and I couldn't believe we went on a high school trip every year, the drama class, and anyone could go, and for like I don't know, like $300 or something. It wasn't like a whole bunch of money. You get to like go to like two Broadway shows, and maybe it was like $200. I don't know, but yeah, we got really good deals, and like Hard Rock Cafe and all of this stuff that we would do in one day. And I did a tour at NBC Studios. But anyways, uh, we would do two shows. I did Miss Saigon for the early show where we could kind of choose, and then everyone would get together at the end, and we would all watch Rent. Was the one that everyone agreed upon that we'd all see. And Taye Diggs was not there because around that time he was making a whole bunch of movies. So I did not get to see him, but Anthony Rapp, I did know a little bit, at least from Adventures in Babysitting, which is also directed by Chris Columbus, who directed this movie, also of Home Alone fame. Uh, yeah, it was crazy. Like, and the movie I thought was pretty good when it came out. It was a while after, and it was cool that they got most of the original cast together. And I don't think it is as great of a translation as say Chicago. It was pretty good, and I was really skeptical about the because of the stage show is just basically all there is like scaffolding. Basically, is all the stage design. It's just all
Yeah,
scaffolding,
yeah, it's
like
all
maybe something
scaffolding.
here and there. And they brought the table out for um, Love You Bohem, but yeah, like and like, and they really went all out in the film, and it was pretty good. And yeah, uh, I could probably go on and on, but I did listen to the soundtrack a million times, and at least 100 times at Chris's house alone, and I already heard it 1,000 times before that. And then it was like when everyone played, when we would do plays at Colonial Little Theater. It was the biggest musical like of that time, uh, and it was really cool that being from a little small town in upstate New York, we were 4.5 hours away from New York City, but it was still close enough to like go and have that experience. So yeah, it was one of those moments that I didn't realize how cool that was until I went out into the world and, like you meet people and you're just like, oh yeah, no, I saw Rent original, like Broadway the original Broadway cast minus Tay Diggs. He was the only one that, and you know what? There was one of the girls I think was, uh, understudy, but Broadway understudy, amazing. So, uh, yeah, that's just your number five, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen it, Kat?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I've always got to be the asshole here, but here's the thing. I have not seen the movie. I cannot comment on the movie. I have only seen it on Broadway. And I've only ever seen two damn things on Broadway, Les Mis and then Rent. And I can say that I was in a terribly uncomfortable seat. Those seats were not meant for guys who weighed, I don't know, 330 at the time, 6'2". There's no leg space. There's no space at all. And yet, despite my discomfort, I was able to take a full half hour, 45-minute nap during this because I was bored to tears and I did not understand the hype afterwards. And on the ride back, because I went with my theater group from college, yeah, lots of shit talking because I was the asshole that didn't like it. And then I tried to deflect by making fun of Jeff Hardy, and then come find out everybody liked Jeff Hardy too, the wrestler, and I was just like, motherfuck, I cannot win. So I'm not going to trash this. I'm just saying that for me, I fell asleep during it. I did not really care for it. And I don't have those fond memories or experiences that you guys do. I cannot levy a single criticism because I don't remember a damn thing. I legitimately do not remember. I just remember fucking falling asleep. So, not a criticism, not a critique. I just was not for me, and I've never gone back to like see if there was something there that I would like. That's all.
So, anyways, Kevin,
I will say, when I remember, when Angel dies in it, I didn't catch that. Like for some reason, I missed that part of it. And then like, there was like these two girls on each side of me and they're bawling their eyes out. And I'm like, what? And so like, I missed that big impactful thing. I caught up later on, but at the funeral, but like, um, yeah, there was a whole section of time where, all these girls just crying like around me, and I was, very socially awkward. Um, so I can see that. And you went in high school, Kent? Oh, college. Sorry,
In
that's right.
college, I
Oh,
would say
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2001.
And was that the original cast?
So, oh, good.
I feel like
I
there
have
wasn't.
no idea. I honestly, I wasn't invested in it, and I didn't. Honestly, like I just wouldn't have known. I wasn't that into that sort of information at the time, I guess.
So, yeah, like, I think most everybody will put up Lovey Bohem and 525,600 minutes as like the two big songs that everybody always goes to, but the one that always gets me is the "I'll Cover You" reprise that Colin sings about to Angel after Angel dies. Like that one always makes me tear up. And incidentally, this is the only other small fact: is this is besides Jesus Christ Superstar, this is the only other one on this list where I've been a part of. I've never done the whole show, but when I was at FM, and we did a couple like shows where they did like scenes from all sorts of different stuff. Yeah, I sang in all of the Rent ones. I actually did one of the songs with Sarah Cusel. Shout out. So there is that. So okay, before I'll put Kent to sleep by boring him to death, I'll move on to my number 4.
This is why we can't have nice things, because I share truth, my truth, and you guys are asses.
It's okay. Which is Fiddler on the Roof. It's one of those titles where even if you've never seen it, you've heard of the name just because it's such a weird fucking name for a movie or a musical. And I don't know what it is. It's like the music just hits me. I love the fact that the main dude is a baritone, and you almost never get that in musicals. It's almost always the lead guy singing is a scrawny little fucking teenager like Marius and Angel Ross, or it's some dude like Jean Valjean who's got a 6 fucking octave range. Yeah, so fuck that shit. But it's also a historical thing about shit going on that probably shouldn't be forgotten. A lot of stuff like that I've actually noticed has been turned into musicals that are pretty poignant. Miss Saigon and whatnot. But I think one of the things that I like the best about it is for all of the tropes that you would expect from this, the father learning to adjust and allow his daughters to defy tradition. He's still a human, and he can bend on letting his 2 older daughters marry not the Jewish people that the matchmaker was going to set up for them, but he's a dick and stands firm, and he ostracizes his youngest daughter who goes to marry the Russian. I always thought that was interesting. A lot of movies and musicals from that time would, everything would be a happy ending, and it's not a completely happy ending in this. It's also got one of the best love songs between 2 older people that, I've heard in a musical, or, I should just say one of the best older married relationships that I've seen in a movie. So make of that what you will. Have you guys seen it?
Yes. And I liked it a lot. I when you told me your list and you said Fiddler on the Roof, I was like, son of a... It was the same reaction I had to Jesus Christ Superstar. I was like, how the fuck did I not think of Fiddler? Because if I were a rich man, that was always a song that I would play, and I don't think I ever properly learned all the words to it, but I certainly loved botching it. It's one of those movies that I've only ever seen, I think, 2 times, but I have such a good time with it. It's long, though. It is 3 hours. So, it's an endeavor. If you're in the mood for a 3-hour great musical, you really can't go wrong here. I have nothing really negative to say about it. I had a great time with it.
I have not seen Fiddler on the Roof, but I am definitely sold. I think I started it, but the fact that it was 3 hours long always deterred me. But that wouldn't be that would not deter me now. So I should definitely check it out finally, because it is a movie I've heard of my whole life. And what was the song?
If I Were a Rich Man is
If I Were a Rich Man, yes.
Made it.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I
or not
did not hear
Christina,
that, but yeah.
I got ahead of myself there. No, who fucking redid that one in the early 2000s?
I didn't know it was redone.
Yeah, so I don't know. Sounds like 50 Cent.
Oh, 50 Cent. Yeah, anyways, I can see 50 Cent doing that.
Yeah.
Get rich, die trying.
If I was a rich man, I'd die trying. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, that's all I got. I haven't seen it. So
all right, so I will move on to my number 3 then. Yeah, so here is the Christina Aguilera remake. I didn't get a chance to finish watching this one today, but what I did catch up on reminded me of, I fucking love this movie. And it's one of the only ones that Baz Luhrmann did that I really wholeheartedly love, but Moulin Rouge, which is Funnily enough, another remake of the opera La Boheme, just like Rent was. Only this was a little more of a period piece than, a modern tale. But I don't know. Like, I love the cast. It reminds me of like a fever dream or a trip, but in a good way, not like one of those bad trips. The mashups they do of songs are like really well thought out, and they work. Everybody like comes off really well. Like Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman both can sing, and I didn't know that before the movie for either of them. John Leguizamo actually doesn't annoy me like he does in most of his parts. So that was cool. Jim Broadbent kills it in the movie. Richard Roxburgh. I was watching this with Krista tonight, and she's like, they had to have filmed that scene like 6 times because he comes so close to smiling when he gives his line at one point that like, he was breaking when he was doing it. I don't know, like, the production value, the songs, the spectacle, the not happy ending, like it all hits me in the right way. I don't know, have you guys, I'm assuming you guys have seen this, but you know what happens when you assume.
Yes, because I haven't seen it. Go figure.
I have not seen it.
Oh,
either.
wow, really?
Yeah,
I should have. What year did it come out?
2001.
Yeah, 2001. It was one. It was like in the. I want to say like maybe Baz Luhrmann's like 3rd or 4th. Probably his biggest one after I think it was his first one after Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. Okay. So, how have you ever seen Rock of Ages?
No.
No.
Okay. Well. Okay. Well, then it's not really. They'll like take a mishmash of like songs and push them together, but it wasn't like anything was written straight for the musical. They'll do like Love Lifts You Up Where You Belong mixed with like something else. That whole Lady Marmalade remake that Christina Aguilera did with all of those other singers from.
See, that was my jam for a bit. That song.
That was for the movie.
Right. Yeah. I knew that.
Yeah.
Because
and I know parts of the movie too. Like I'm very aware of it, and I know the aesthetic of it, and I remember seeing the Oscars that year and them performing it. Because did it win Best Song? It was definitely nominated.
It won 2 Oscars.
It did have an original song in it, though, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
That's always slow to pop up when you click that from IMDb. So yeah, like it won best costume and best set decoration, art direction. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just I guess that whole bohemian woman dying from consumption story really hits me. I don't know.
we used that song on the Malarkey Show for our famous Temple of Dome video, which included Russ, Craig, and Dom. So,
that sounds pretty awesome.
Yes, Russ was the gatekeeper holding the golden Buddha, and I was the clumsy oaf Max Powers, along with my sidekick Pat Mahomes, which now we actually have a Patrick Mahomes football player, superstar, which is just fun. But at the time, it was just Craig with a walking stick, and Dom was like the landlord. I don't know. It wasn't a complicated story, but we definitely used that song in the car, and it was a good time.
All right, well, I will move on then, since there doesn't seem to be too much more to talk about with there. I would recommend you guys both watch it, but it's not streaming anywhere. So I was lucky enough that, except for my number 1, I have actual physical copies of all of them that are on my list. So my number 2 is probably the one I've listened to the most recently, because I actually have the soundtrack in my car. And it's one that I know if you guys haven't seen, I know you guys will both enjoy it, because not only does it hit musicals, but it fits with what we normally talk about, and that's Repo, the Genetic Opera. So it's directed by one of the guys who did a bunch of the Saw movies, Darren Lynn Bousman, but it was written by a guy named Terrence, I have no idea how to pronounce his last name, Zdunic, Zdunich. So he wrote the score and the script and the lyrics, and he did the original Broadway show, and then he did the translation for when they brought it to a movie, but he figured he wasn't going to get funding, so he had talked Bousman into directing for him. I don't know, it's just, the music is so good, like I fucking love it. It's basically, if you guys have seen the other Repo Man, the one with Jude Law and Lawrence Whitaker, it's basically the same rough plot. You know, it takes place in the future. People can finance getting operations to replace their organs, and if they can't afford it, they send a Repo Man to repossess your organs, you know, in this case by cutting them out of your body and taking them back. So one of the main guys is a Repo Man working for a company in order to buy the medicine for his daughter to take to survive. The cast is great, and I mean, like, I don't know if you're looking at this in IMDb, but I mean, a lot of it is
Bill
definitely,
Moseley.
Yeah, Bill Moseley is Bill, probably the second worst singer in the cast, but I mean, he doesn't
surprise me at all.
He doesn't do a horrible job. You know,
who's the worst, Paris?
No, that ogre.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
a singer for a band.
Yes.
What's the band?
I don't. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what it. And it's
no.
Maybe it's just because he's doing like an affectation, but like when you hear it, you can understand it. Like Paul Sorvino fucking brings it, man. Like I wasn't expecting like opera to be coming out of him, but it fucking does. But yeah, Paris wasn't bad. I mean, it's got Sarah Brightman, who is the original Christine from Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, and so I mean, it's just really good. Like, the shit is so catchy. Like, if you guys haven't seen it, this is one that I will say hands down, straight, nonstop, both of you will enjoy.
I have not seen it, but
really?
Earlier I did say that there was 4 movies that I really wish I had gotten to see. This was one of them.
Skinny Puppy is the band that Ogre is in.
Gotcha.
It's pretty like goth, theatrical, industrial. Not really my thing, but yeah. Yeah, I like this. It was cool. Paris Hilton actually was everyone hates anything Paris Hilton is in, but it was pretty cool, and her death scene is pretty great too. And yeah. Yeah, I thought this was fun. I've seen it a few times. I didn't really like it the first time I saw it. I thought it was kind of like trying too hard. But the more I would watch it, I appreciate it more and more every time. So, one that I have seen.
Yeah, so Ken, not only does it have like horror themes, but there's also boobies. So I figured. Like,
well, I mean, I really like Paris Hilton. I know, well, as Kevin just alluded to, like, a lot of people dislike her, but honestly, like, I really liked her in House of Wax. Like, that movie got just shit all over for no real good reason, aside from, like, a couple bad decisions. But, you know, she's not bad. I don't really have an issue with her. I quite like the cast. I think I may own this on Vudu finally as well. I think I purchased it specifically for this podcast, so I failed again.
It's okay. I mean, you'll be able to watch it, you know, like months after we talked about it.
Free.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to day watch and night watch someday. And The Evil Within. I'll eventually hit all of the greatest hits.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Free on Vudu. So.
All right, so I'm gonna move on to my number one, and until I rewatched it, I was like, God, I hope this counts as a musical, and it does, according to the internet. But also the fact that like there were more songs in it than I remembered from when I originally watched it. But I don't know if you guys ever watch any Bollywood stuff, but I watched the movie RRR when it came out last year, and I fucking loved it. It hits like so many genres over the course of it that it's I don't it's I don't know, I can't praise this movie enough. It is a historical epic, a martial arts movie, a musical. Like there's a guy throws a leopard at another dude's head as a weapon. I mean, there's a dance scene in the middle of it that's just fucking amazing. Like out of nowhere, just a dance scene comes out. And it's a pretty decent drama, but like it's just so over the top. It's almost like if you took like realistic superheroes and threw them into like the British occupation of India and then like talked about people rebelling against it. I just fucking loved it. It won the Academy Award last year for best song. So I forgot about that too. So I was like, yeah, that definitely gives it musical cred. It's on Netflix. Like if you guys haven't seen it, it's another one I would recommend watching. But I definitely feel that it's more of a like if you're into that type of movie, you'll fucking love it. If you're not into that type of movie, it's not going to convert you overnight. Incidentally, one of the interesting things I found was this was like the first thing I've seen since Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade that the Elsa was in. And it's one of those interesting cases where you see people who are English speakers acting in a foreign language movie, and the dub that they do, I mean, you can tell that they're redubbing back into English, but it doesn't match up with like the lip movements. So it's, I always find that funny. But yeah, it's a great musical. It's a great action movie. I don't know enough about Indian history to comment on, how fictionalized it is, but it is a fictionalized version of a true story. But I fucking loved it. There's twists in it, like at like the halfway point that like are pretty fucking cool. It is over 3 hours though, so if you do watch it, sorry I forced you to go through such a long movie. Although like a guy kicking a motorcycle to stop it and then flipping it in the air and then kicking it back across that other, I don't know. This shit's over the top.
Musicals are long. Have you noticed this? Like, there's a lot of the best known ones are like 2.5, 3 hours long.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. I mean, because they have to have the story, and then the songs take up another 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah,
Half a
another
movie.
movie worth of it. I remember that was always like unless it's like the early Disney musicals were about like 90 minutes, but
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen this, but I'm just kind of watching what they're showing on IMDb, and it looks kind of fun, honestly.
Dude, it was so much fun. That's a good description. It's a fun movie. It is way more gory than it shows, though. And like I forgot about that part, but yeah, they're like when you see some of the people getting fucked up, you're like, oh shit, kind of like you see like an ad for John Wick, and you forget, like how actually brutal some of the action sequences are.
That makes sense.
yeah, I haven't seen this movie, but it was one of the ones I missed last year because I think it was nominated for Best International Picture, and they did do the song, they performed it, and they had that huge dance number, that so they did that with like, I don't know, it was like like I felt like
Yeah,
100 people
there
on
was some
stage. It was crazy.
there was some controversy too because they had the two main dudes in it do it, but then everybody that they threw as backups were like white Americans instead of like having like actual people of the culture, being the backup dancers for the show at the Oscars. So yeah, there was a little bit of controversy about that, but yeah, it was one of those ones too where it came out and it like hit number one on like 62 different countries, on the Netflix list. Excuse me, which was really interesting because we haven't seen too much like Indian cinema or TV shows hit over here like we have with like say Korean shows. But yeah, like this is another one I can't recommend it enough. And I like the fact that it's not like just a typical musical. Like as much as I love like Rent or Fiddler on the Roof, you're not going to find a dude, getting into a fist fight with a tiger.
You've done a really good job of like selling this movie to me, Chris. Like even the indie, what is it? British occupied India. Just it sounds
Yeah.
wild. Martial arts. I'm in. I'm in.
And it's got I really liked him, and I'm sorry that he died, but it's also one of the last movies that Ray Stevenson was in before he passed.
I feel bad that I didn't know that Ray Stevenson died. The Punisher in Warzone.
Yeah, he and yeah, that was actually a really good Punisher that hit under the radar. But yeah, the very last thing that he did was that Ahsoka TV show for the Star Wars on Disney, and like he passed after it finished filming, but before it released. So yeah, it looks like this was his fifth to last movie. All right, well that's my list. We want to get into what we've been up to for the last month or so.
Well, I was going to ask, did anybody have any other musical?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Honorable mentions.
Yeah, I got a couple. You guys covered a lot of those with Jesus Christ Superstar, Rent. I would say Little Shop of Horrors was one that I watched a lot of.
So that was all right. That was like my last cut from my top 5, and I was bummed out that I cut it. But I've only seen it twice, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel bad about like if this is my top 5 and I've only seen the movie twice. I feel like I'm fucking things up. Like that. Like I because all right, if you think about it, we initially, when we brought this whole thing up, one of the first things I said is none of us can take Rocky Horror because we all love Rocky Horror, and Rocky Horror was basically like the inspiration for this podcast. And I would say for everything great about Rocky Horror, Little Shop of Horrors is, it's not like a spiritual successor by any means, but it has a lot of the same, I don't know, tongue-in-cheek humor to me.
And just and it's considered a horror film. I
mean, dude, I had no idea that the fucking dude who Levi, I can't remember his last name, that is the voice of Audrey 2. I didn't know he was the singer from fucking Four Tops. And he was also fucking Mother Brain in Captain N, the cartoon of like the late 80s, early 90s.
I didn't know that either.
I mean, great voice, and I really, really, really I don't know. I really like the girl that played Audrey as well.
Ellen Green, she's in
Ellen Green
as a kid. Another one, Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. She's the teacher.
Oh yeah. Shit! So I forgot about that.
Every time I see Pump Up the Volume, I'm like, Ellen Green. Why do I know that? Because I watched Little Shop of Horrors so many times as a kid. It was one of probably like the first 10 movies we owned on VHS, or at least first 20 movies we owned on VHS. Like like owned it, not recorded, had the cover and everything, and I knew Bill Murray and Steve Martin, and uh, yeah, and our high school did a version of this, and uh, I got to be backstage for the first half of it with the guy in the booth who did the voice of it. So, and then he kicked me out when he did that part because I was kind of just hanging around. Um, and and it was a really good. Uh, it was pretty cool. So yeah, it was cool to see, and they really pushed the envelope, and they did, uh, you know, do the oh shit. I remember the first night, and then they had to cut it from the rest of it. So the first night was like the night to go to. Um, yeah. So
So how did that work at Mayfield? Because you have the three black ladies, Tisha Campbell, and I don't know the other two. Did they just basically replace them with three white chicks for
yeah,
Mayfield? Because we didn't
yeah,
have any
yeah,
black
yeah, yeah.
girls
Yeah,
at
we
the
just,
time.
do
Okay.
like just like they
So do
still
you?
had like the hair do's and you know.
I see. I really loved their part in the movie. Like I thought they were kind of like the glue that held that whole thing together for me.
Do you prefer the original Broadway ending or the movie ending?
I
And
read about the other ending.
yeah, in the Broadway show, Audrey wins and eats the
Oh
world.
yeah, they didn't do that version for school. Though we probably had the rights to that. They probably like altered it to make it. No, that sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, to make
Yeah,
it
yeah,
a
yeah,
happy ending. Yeah, instead of
Well, they originally filmed the original ending, and it did horrible with test audiences, and that's why when they go the very end, when they show the three girls, they don't show the third girl's face, which is Tisha Campbell, because she wasn't available for the reshoot. So
Oh,
there you go.
so
yeah, that
yeah,
makes
I'm glad
sense.
I brought that one
Yes.
up. And then
I love Steve
and the
Martin's
scene
song
with
in
Bill
that too.
Murray in it,
You'll be a
Dentist.
dentist.
pure gold. Yeah.
Bill Murray's fucking
And
fantastic.
yeah, it's kind of one that I sort of forget a little bit too. Like, but when I was racking my brain, it's
John Candy.
so many.
John
Christopher
Candy as well,
Guest,
man.
right? He's got a yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
didn't
I know
even
you.
realize that it was him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I remember
first guy
watching the
that
first
came
time.
in.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Christopher Guest, and I did never saw Monty Python, right?
He was more of a
That's right.
Spinal Tap.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
that whole group of dudes.
that sounds about right. My dad loves Spinal Tap, so uh, yeah. And then I would say also other ones. West Side Story, though, is an honorable mention, and The Sound of Music itself, and La La Land. Except the music isn't really as great as the rest of the dancing and production and stuff like that.
I have La La Land, and I was considering watching it, but the more I read about it, the more I was like, I can't imagine this is my type of movie. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll get around to watching it just to see what it is, but I don't know. Would you
It's
say
my
it's
least
remotely
favorite
my
of
type of movie, Kevin?
Damien Chazelle's four movies. So I don't know. I mean, no, I don't know. Probably not actually. But if you were doing all these musicals, it would have been
Fair
one to like
enough.
throw in there, but you wouldn't have been certainly musically anyways like blown away by it. I mean, it's Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, and the music's all right, and like the score is good, and the dancing is awesome, and the jazz music and stuff like that. But like the songs that they sing is, besides the opening number, which is really cool, and like one really long shot or shot to look like that, it's worth checking out in like a film history kind of way. But there's a reason why Moonlight beat it for the Oscars that year. Um, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was one that I saw on a ton of lists that
Yeah, and
I
you
never
should
had a
when
chance to
when
get
you
around to
when you get
watching.
a chance
So
though. But yeah, musically the songs aren't. And I really tried to get into it, and and I like the movie and all, but yeah, it's my least favorite of the Damien Chazelle films, which and it's one that I feel like I should like more than I do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
What have
yeah.
you guys got? Honorable mentions. I know Kent's at least got one, or a dishonorable mention at least.
Oh, yes, I do. Let's go with that dishonorable mention first and foremost.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
fucking talk about The Wiz. Have either of you seen The Wiz?
I haven't seen it since the
I haven't
80s,
seen it
but
since
I've seen it.
the
Okay,
'90s
Kevin?
when I was a kid. But uh, and we talked about this a little bit, so
Okay.
I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, so I'd never seen it. And I remember buying it because I saw the cast on it. I was super excited. I'm a big fan of Motown. I just thought, okay, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, Nipsey Russell, fucking Richard Pryor. Like, this sounds like it's going to be this cool alternative take on Wizard of Oz. I was totally into it. And right from the get go, I was kind of bored by it. I'm not going to lie, that whole thing until she arrives in Oz. But then it got worse for me because we don't have little people, we have graffiti. And there was some scenes that were fine, like Michael the Scarecrow and the Crows. I was good with that scene. Everything Nipsey Russell did, I was on board with. Some of the stuff that I think it was Ted Ross did as the Cowardly Lion, I thought he did a good job. But so many times, because they're trying to make it a 70s black experience, talking about what was going on at the time, you know, I was not a black person alive in the 70s. So a lot of this just, you kind of have to imagine how the importance of this. But simultaneously, I kind of want to be entertained. And the movie just didn't entertain all that much. And Richard Pryor, like, why even use Richard Pryor if you're not going to let him be funny? Right? Like, what is the point? You don't cast Richard Pryor to not be funny. You don't cast Diana Ross at that age to play a woman. I don't even know how many years younger Dorothy was supposed to be compared to what Diana Ross's age was at the time. But Diana Ross really just did not fit the mold of Dorothy or what they were trying to represent Dorothy with. It really just was a very frustrating experience to a point where I shut it off and I finished it the next day. I was really unhappy with that, and I wanted that movie to be so much better than it was. So that was my biggest disappointment out of everything.
I mean, I really feel that if you're going to watch a movie from this, that time period trying to show that experience, I think Fame is just straight up a much better movie, with that style, that kind of music, that time period.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough to watch when I was a kid, coming into it as
I
a
was
Michael
just let
Jackson
down,
fan.
so.
And I was really disappointed with it, and it was really hard to finish. And I remember being bored with it almost from the very beginning, and then by the time Michael Jackson was in it, which was, I don't know, like 20 or 30 minutes in, which felt like forever. Does that sound right? It's been a while.
It was probably about, yeah, you're right. I would say probably about 30 minutes because it takes forever with the opening scene takes forever, and then you got all the graffiti stuff and that takes forever. So yeah, probably 25, 30
Yeah.
minutes all to see
Yeah,
Michael
yeah.
Jackson with a Reese's peanut butter cup for a nose,
Yeah.
which, or the wrapper, I should say, not the peanut butter cup itself. Like, they didn't allow Michael Jackson, all right, his songs didn't sound that good. The only thing that was really useful was his movement. He moved like Michael Jackson. I will give him that, but once again, by that point, you're already bored. It's not
Yeah.
enough to,
Yeah.
switch you back to interested. You know what I mean?
I remember when I watched it, my mom had me watch. She hated Diana Ross in the first place. So, like, I don't know why she made me watch it. Because, that's not a good place to start from.
Was it a punishment?
It might have been, like, I'm not putting cruel and unusual stuff past my parents anymore.
Why did your mom hate Diana Ross? That's what
she
I want to know.
actually met her in New York City when she was going to college, and she was a bitch. So I think that's the point. Like, she never said anything bad about her music, but like, she was not a fan.
Okay, that makes sense.
And yes, it's, I don't know, it's weird. There's some stylistic choices that don't make a lot of sense in regards. I don't know what they were trying to do with some of the stuff, but yeah, overall, it's not horrible, but it's not good.
It's it's mediocre. It's mediocrity personified in many ways, and if I never see it again, I'm okay with that.
You know what makes sense is that Joel Schumacher was one of the writers. So,
oh yeah, that makes some sense.
Because he'll do anything.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about Batman and Robin, and thinking about some of like the costumes and the pastels and the glow in the dark paint and shit, I'm like, okay, yeah. I can fucking see it between the two movies.
The Tin Man have nipples?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did.
No.
I'm surprised though. All right. I'll go through the rest of my honorable mentions relatively fast, I would say. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, it has enough songs to qualify, but I felt the movies I chose had more songs and felt more like musicals than Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, so that's why it's an honorable mention. Great movie. I think we all like the movie. We all love Gene Wilder. I don't really know anybody that dislikes the damn movie. It's just, compared to, what, all of us chose for our top 5, I feel like it just isn't as much of a musical as the other selections.
And also, like, the best songs in the movie are the Oompa Loompa songs, and it's basically redundant, but with different lyrics, and it is the, So yeah, I hear you on that. And like, I got a golden ticket and I've seen that movie a million times and I love it. And yeah, the one song that Gene Wilder did, and did you mention this, Kent, that Marilyn Manson did a cover of it? Of what? Of the really dark
Your Imagination?
Song. No, of the really dark song where they go into the
tunnel.
When they're in the tunnel?
Yeah, where Gene Wilder gets wild.
I did not know that Manson did that.
Yeah, that was on their whatever. I think the title of the album had something to do with Willy Wonka or something like that too, like some pun. I don't remember. Maybe not. I wasn't a big Marilyn Manson fan, but I did like that song because I liked Willy Wonka. So
sure. And Chris, you were a fan, I'm guessing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I do think, after having watched a lot of YouTube videos that led me down a spiral, that it works more as a horror movie than it does as a children's
Willy
movie.
Wonka may be a horror icon, an under the radar horror icon.
But yes, it's a classic for a good reason, and Grandpa Joe is definitely the bad guy in the movie.
Wait, now I have a question. Like, all right, based on like looking at the grandparents, they look like, okay, maybe they're in their 60s or 70s, but they've been in that bed for 20 years. So like, even if we say they got into bed at 50, like they've just been laying in bed since they were 50, being taken care of, like going to the bathroom in the bed because they said they never got up. Like,
yeah, let's not think about this too hard. We don't want to ruin our childhood.
I went so deep down the rabbit hole, all right. Kevin mentioned this earlier. The Greatest Showman. I'd never seen it. I liked it, and I alluded to somebody that really impressed me. And I hate to say this, but Zac Efron is starting to impress me as an actor, and I don't know what's wrong with me. I may be dying. I don't know. But I liked him in Firestarter. I liked him in The Greatest Showman. I'm willing to give him more chances and opportunities to impress me. I don't know. I thought he did good. I thought Hugh Jackman did good, and Rebecca Ferguson. I'm like, why do I know that name? And then I realized she was Rose the Hat from Doctor Sleep, and I don't know. Like, I'm a sucker for things with freak shows and circuses. I liked how they implemented some modern music for that period. Like, I don't know. Everything kind of felt good. It didn't feel great, but it probably would have made my top 10 if we'd done a 10 list.
That's another one I like the soundtrack for. I don't like the whole thing. I mean, I like the whole thing, but I only listened to a couple of songs.
Did you like The Other Side? I think that was like my favorite.
Yeah, the Other Side, the very first one, Greatest Show,
Greatest Show, A Million Dreams I even liked.
And yeah, it's not Rebecca Ferguson singing it, but that song that she sings that's a good song too. Yeah, I like the movie. I mean, I have a feeling that it's not very accurate, but I would agree. I forgot what it was that I first saw him and that I started liking him, but I do like Zac Efron a lot. I never saw him in any of like the Disney Channel shit that he started with at the beginning.
High School the Musical.
Yeah, High School Musical, or like, I think probably chronologically the earliest thing I saw him in was Hairspray, which, as I already told Kevin,
right.
I really liked. But between the comedies he's done, I think he's got a really good comedic sense of timing, like Neighbors 2, Dirty Grandpa.
Is he good? Like, I was wondering if he was actually good in those.
Yeah, he's good. Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. That's another good one. I don't remember who he was in The Disaster Artist, but that was a fucking great movie. If you guys haven't seen it, but yeah, he's also done some serious stuff. Like I'm hearing nothing but good things about The Iron Claw, except that it's like super fucking depressing. But
well, yeah, I mean, The Dark Side of the Ring isn't very good with that either. It's just a depressing ass story.
Yeah. I'm excited about that too. Yeah. That Von Erichs. I was wondering. So you are aware of that movie, Kent? Okay.
Of course.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So Greatest Showman. I think it probably might have hit my top 10, maybe like a top 11. But yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I'll watch anything with Michelle Williams in it, and that's basically why I watched it. But yeah, it was pretty good. Newfound Glory actually covers, I think, "This Is Me," which was the one song.
That's like the big anthem.
Yeah.
From that
I knew that song before I knew that it was a song in that movie. It's one of those where like plays at the gas station and stuff, and yeah, and I just the Zac Efron. The Beach Bum, directed by Harmony Korine, his part in that is so good. It's like Matthew McConaughey, stoner. It's a art film, but it's like a Cheech and Chong stoner movie where Matthew McConaughey plays a kind of characterization of himself, sort of. Not himself, but like very bohemian guy. I don't know. It's awesome. It's weird, but Zac Efron is so good in it, and you should just look him up. What he looks like from that movie. It's great, but yeah.
I just want to go on record. I know Kevin likes Michelle Williams. I do not. So this entire podcast is not entirely pro Michelle Williams. Kevin is. I am not.
I'll make up for it.
It's weird because I mostly know her from Dawson's Creek, and I was not very impressed with her back then, and I missed a lot of like her, kind of resurgence stuff, the stuff where she was doing like super dramatic roles. So yeah, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. I think everything I've seen her in since then is good, but the other half of the bag is that like she's done a lot of like super depressing movies that I don't like. I'll watch a depressing movie, but I like to laugh once in a while too.
Those are my favorite. Yeah, Blue Valentine. That one's.
Yeah, that's one. That's one I'm thinking of.
Love what that movie does too. But it's hard to watch for sure. if your relationship's not in a good place, it'll kill it. Like, say goodbye to it. If you watch that with a girlfriend, like it'll bring up stuff that you didn't know was coming. But yeah, that movie's great, and yeah. So, but yeah, we'll see. Dawson's Creek. I went and watched it. There was no like a lot of her early stuff. There's no like sign that she's gonna be this like great dramatic actress. Um, I think everyone else is stronger on the show. So, of those four.
Yeah, I mean, I remember people being like all psyched about Katie Holmes versus her, but I mean, let's face it, who's got the career now? It's not Katie Holmes.
No, she barely has her life after, but that's another podcast altogether.
Yeah, that's a whole. There you go.
All right.
What else you got, Ken? Yeah.
Chris, if you like to laugh, this next one's for you. Blues Brothers.
Oh no,
I don't know if it's a musical per se. It had plenty of music, plenty of songs.
Hey, you know
what?
Had
an amazing, dude.
All you need to do is stand by your man, okay?
Yeah. Just stand by, while getting beer bottles thrown at you. I'm just blown away by how great the cast was. Aside from Belushi and Aykroyd, Cab Calloway, who we all love for Minnie the Moocher, James Brown, Shaka Khan, Stephen Williams, who was in Jason Goes to Hell. Need to bring him up. John Landis, Aretha Franklin, Carrie Fisher, John Candy popping up again, Paul Rubens, Ray Charles. I loved his stuff. Charles Napier, Twiggy, Joe Walsh. James Avery was in one scene, like a street dancer, and Mr. T was also there. What a star-studded cast. And I had a great time with it. I'd never seen it until last night. Last night was the very first time. So
wow, that's wow. Yeah,
I know.
I love the first one. First one is great. Second one, fucking skip it.
I never got to the second one. I just couldn't do it.
Is that the one with John?
Yeah,
Goodman?
they replaced John Belushi with John Goodman. I mean, it's not supposed to be the same person. It's a different person. It's just
okay.
They added a little kid, and yeah, you know what happens when you add kids to movies.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a bad movie, but like the first one is so good. It's so weird, like we're on a mission from God, and then the second one is just kind of like treading water. Do you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah, they waited too long to make it, and then everyone caught up with the first one, and then they watched that and they're like, yeah. But that's a good choice, Kent, because I didn't think of that one, but
thank you.
Yeah, good job.
All right. I didn't choose this next one because I'm pretty sure we said no Disney, but damn it, I had to rewatch it, and it was Newsies.
Yeah,
Newsies
counts. Newsies, it's not an animated Disney.
It is so. Once again, the cast, aside from just Christian Bale and Robert Duvall and Bill Pullman, and Anne Margaret, you got Jeffrey DeMunn as the one kid's father. Kevin, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Teague or Teague. Michael Lerner, who I have seen in a lot of stuff lately. I don't know. There was just a lot of that movie is just fun. It's a lot of fun. I don't know how else to say it. King of New York's a blast. I don't know anybody that doesn't like
Trey Parker was in it.
It's not Trey Parker.
I was gonna be like,
because I looked that up. I was like, what the fuck?
I really wouldn't be that surprised with the amount of musical stuff that they do.
Well, yeah, that's originally I was like, but wait, they didn't show his picture on the IMDb. I was like, no, Trey Parker definitely has his picture. So yeah, but I don't know. I definitely would have included this in the top 10. Another one, I don't even want to spend much time on it, but Robin Hood Men in Tights is not much of a musical. There's a few numbers, the Sherwood Forest Rap and, Men in Tights, but by and large, it wasn't enough of a musical to even be considered.
I thought about it real quick and then was like, yeah. It's been in 10 years since I've seen it, but basically what you said is kind of what I felt about it, that it probably wasn't a musical.
Yeah, a lot of fun. It was very funny. It was, Mel Brooks movie. It just,
Well, that's a
it
really
wasn't
good
a musical.
one.
Yeah. I just finished Sweeney Todd before we got on. I've seen it once before. I kind of liked it more the second time through. I don't know. I'd still only give it like a 6 out of 10, but, I liked it. And I don't have a whole lot to really add to it. Other than Helena Bonham Carter and Sacha Baron Cohen together again. So that always brings happiness and joy to me. One last movie I want to mention that I wasn't sure if it belonged was the movie Ray, because it's a biopic or biopic, whatever you want to choose to say it. I wasn't sure because it was just all, Ray Charles music. It was kind of like, could you have used that? Could you have chose like Walk the Line? Voodoo told me that it was a musical, but inherently I didn't feel that it was a musical. And I'm curious, would you guys have counted Ray as a musical?
I don't. I mean, I don't. That opens up a whole bunch of biopics, because then you got
Right.
like you said,
Doors.
Ray, Walk the Line, What's Love Got to Do with It, The Doors.
I feel like it just belongs. I feel like it's safe to just leave it out of the musicals.
Yeah, I think
Sounds
kind
good.
of what Chris was saying on our chat was that, like, and I wouldn't know how to explain it, but the ones where they kind of break out into song, and the Rock and Roll High School doesn't really do that, minus the PJ Souls singing it in the gym class. Like, it really doesn't have that aspect to it. It's like the Ramones coming into town and they're like singing, but it really was more of like a music video than it was like a musical. But they are considered, I guess, for like lack of a better term, in like a music film, but they say musical, but it's not really a musical. And I feel like I've said music and musical way too many times in a row there. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird definition, but I think by and large we kind of adhere to. I think all of our top 5 picks all kind of adhere to what we'd all definitely consider a musical.
Definitely.
So in that regard, we actually succeeded, believe it or not. So that's it for my honorable mentions. Chris, did you have some?
Yeah, I mean, not too many other. Like, I'd like to give Phantom honorable mention, just because I wasn't expecting Gerard Butler to be able to sing, and I think he really knocked it out of the park. Not necessarily in hitting the notes, but he threw perhaps more emotion into the part than when I saw it on Broadway, or listening to the original like Michael Crawford recordings.
Was he better than Robert Englund?
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite the same version. Let's put it like that.
Oh, okay.
And I really like Emmy Rossum and Patrick Wilson too. So, they were both in it and kind of blew up after that. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I didn't get a chance to get around to watching that I would have liked to have seen. Like I have never seen either of the Mamma Mias, so I have no idea, how they stack up. Obviously, people love them because they became the 2 highest grossing movie musicals. Same thing, like I heard Tick Tick Boom was really good, but I didn't get a chance to watch that yet.
It is. You like it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I also have not seen either Mamma Mia movies, and kind of what you said, that I didn't get around to that either. So same.
I mean, same kind of thing. Like Cabaret probably would have made an honorable mention for me just because I was in it, and not necessarily like the music that much, but there's a bit of sentiment there for me. But outside of that, I mean, musicals haven't really been a huge genre lately. Like I haven't seen it In the Heights, so I've heard good things about that, but I haven't seen it. I mean, apparently Lin-Manuel Miranda is basically owning that genre lately, which I like Hamilton a lot, so good for him. Yeah, so I mean,
Would
Not
I
too much of
like
it.
Hamilton? Because I almost watched it.
I really
and then
think
I was
you
like,
would.
I don't know.
But
It's interesting, like I was talking to my wife after I watched it, the staged
yeah, that's what
version
I
that they
thought
put
of
up
too.
on,
I was like, it doesn't
Disney
count
Plus.
as a movie, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the stuff is awesome. Like the raps
opens
are like
too.
really
It's
good.
like it gets you hyped.
Yeah, some of the songs are really good. But then you've got some of like those traditional like musical songs, like the love songs that are just kind of like
Brings everybody down.
it's not it brings everybody down, but it reminds me of like somebody playing. You've done so much like avant-garde shit that's really awesome, and then you're playing it like really safe, writing something that could fit into like Sound of Music or, like My Fair Lady, and it's
Right.
and they're not bad songs and they're not poorly performed, but like there's this one song that George Washington and Hamilton sing. I fucking forgot what it's called. It's like so good, and then you get like this slowed down, soaring love ballad that just kills the whole pacing. But Jonathan Groff as
Mindhunter's
King
guy,
George is
right?
fucking great too. Every one of his songs, yeah,
Like
every one of
night and
his
day
songs is fucking
performances
awesome.
there too.
Yeah.
My favorite in he's my
For
favorite
sure,
in
Kevin,
Hamilton.
like that.
So definitely worth watching. But yeah, it's 3 hours, and it does drag in parts, but overall it's outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, and then like if you've shit, like David Diggs, I didn't see any of the first movies he was in, but like he kind of blew up out of nowhere, and then I seeing him doing like the dual portrayal in Hamilton where he does Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson, I was like, wow, this guy not only can he act, but he can fucking sing like good. So it makes sense when you see him, hitting like Fruitvale Station, the Snowpiercer TV show, shit like that. So yeah, I think it's worth watching.
Okay.
Even if you don't love it, it's worth experiencing once.
I want to share what I assume will be an unpopular opinion, but if I never have to see overly coordinated dance routines that don't feel like they fit into the scene that I'm watching ever again, I'm okay with it. That was one thing that I noticed in some of these things. It's like the dancing just it's so like formulaic at times, or like just like dancing in a musical. There's definitely places for it, right? But like we've all seen musicals where it's just like, why are these people in the background just dancing for no reason? Like, fuck. It's just that's all. That's my unpopular opinion.
Gotcha. Well, I think this probably pretty much covers our musical opinions. What else have you guys been up to watching in the last month since our last podcast? Kevin, you want to hit this? Well, yeah. I mean, go ahead. I know you've got a pretty big list.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna do. So I mean, what I've just been watching my film collection for the most part, and then kind of catching up with movies of the year. But since this is the last podcast of the so this is the last podcast of the year, I have a top 23 of 2023, and we're gonna go with number 23, Sympathy for the Devil. 22, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. 21.
Wait. How was that? What is this? Once again, I love to ask. Is it something I would like? I feel like the Turtles is something I would like, right?
Yeah, I was really impressed with it. Like, really impressed.
Okay.
It's the only animated film on here. I did not see the new Spider-Man movie. Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, tomorrow. I'm gonna do like a full-on watch. All new movies, all 2023 films to catch up on. But yeah, no, Trent Reznor.
Sorry,
No. Trent
I was
Reznor.
curious because I really wanted to see it. I think it'll be
Yeah,
fun.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross like do the score, and it's like probably my favorite score, like
Oh, okay.
of, and I love those guys. The stuff they do with Fincher. Yeah, and it's almost like it's so good it almost doesn't fit, but yeah, it's a really really the animation is cool. They just do a really good job, and yeah, I expected it to be kind of okay, but
All right, cool. It keeps popping up on sale for like $9, so I'm sure it's going to hit $5 within a few months. So I'll probably snag it then.
yeah, definitely worth $5 for sure. I'm kind of waiting for it to go a little bit cheaper.
Also, I think it's streaming somewhere. Possibly
Yeah,
Paramount.
it's been on Paramount for a while.
I'm sorry. Which one is this?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah, if it's going to be on anything, it's going
Yeah,
to be on
no,
Paramount.
it is. Yeah, have you seen it, Chris?
I haven't. So it was
Really good.
Because, like... Okay.
Really good. Yeah.
I mean, I am a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, so I've been trying to get my son to watch them, and he's been fighting me on it.
Yeah, so this one might be a good entry. Yeah, it's worth checking out. I was really impressed with it. Yeah, I mean, Ice Cube is in it. That's got a great cast. Yeah, Mondo Gecko. Just I remember having like the action figures and stuff. But yeah, anyways, yeah. Saw 10 was another one on my top 23 this year. Probably my favorite of the franchise horror films. Not that I've seen a lot of them, but Guy.
Did you get around to the David Gordon Green
Yes,
classic?
I did. It is not on. It is not on. The Exorcist is not on my top 23. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
It
is
really
better
doesn't
than
belong.
The Exorcist Believer.
Well, that's good to hear.
And I've seen probably
believe
like
it.
65 movies this year, so this is like the top tier of that. So Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, actually at number 20. I'm not the biggest Guy Ritchie fan. Like I love Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, and but this was a very different kind of Guy Ritchie, very restrained. Jake Gyllenhaal's in it, war movie drama, pretty good story. It was really good.
It's
Yeah,
based
it's
on a
not
true
very
story, isn't it?
flashy. It's very, it's really. I'm impressed that Guy Ritchie did it, honestly, and I do like, Sherlock Holmes is great, and but different kind of thing. The Flash. Have you guys checked out The Flash?
Yeah, I finally got around to watching that. That was one of the ones on my list for the
I
month.
thought that was pretty good. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Probably my favorite superhero movie of the year. But I'll get through the rest of these. The Kane Mutiny Court Martial, William Friedkin's last movie. The Killer by David Fincher. When Evil Lurks, which is on Shudder, and
Oh, is it on Shudder? Because I've heard that one I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see that one bad. Yeah.
It's really good. Showing Up, directed by Kelly Reichardt, and Thanksgiving, directed by Eli Roth, was really good. It's a crowd pleaser, and I don't mean that in some sort of like sarcastic douchey way. Like it's kind of like he did a little bit for everyone on that one. So I know, and with Eli Roth, there was kind of like a general consensus on him is that people liked some of his movies, but kind of gave up on him a long time ago. And me like listening to his interviews and hearing him talk about horror films, which makes me more interested in horror films, kind of knew he had something in him. And this one, yeah, it's great. It's not super campy, but it's Thanksgiving and it's a slasher, and it delivers in the gore. So Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Asteroid City, May December, which is on Netflix, directed by Todd Haynes. Leave the World Behind, for the Mr. Robot fans out there, directed by Sam Esmail. It's got that vibe. Master Gardener by Paul Schrader. The dude almost died making this movie. He didn't go to the hospital, and he actually lives in like assisted living now, and is now making another movie. But yeah, Master Gardener is really good. Infinity Pool. God is a Bullet. I have seen it 3 times since April. It is so violent and wonderful. Directed by Nick Cassavetes. Um, Napoleon by Ridley Scott is really good. Killers of the Flower Moon by Martin Scorsese is great. And number 1 is Beau is Afraid by Ari Aster. That movie, we don't get so lucky all the time for the people who like the weird shit. So
Did
I
you get a
didn't.
chance to
I was
see
gonna make
Talk
a
to
list
Me
of the
yet?
ones that movies I didn't see. Like I haven't seen John Wick 4. I didn't see Talk to Me. I didn't see like the Marvels or Aquaman that just came out. So, but
Yeah. And Talk to Me just keeps getting overhyped to a point where now I'm like afraid to watch it because I've read too much hype about it. But it was like on sale, I don't know, for like $10 on Amazon. So I'm possibly going to
that's
get it
pretty good. That's a pretty
just to
good
do it.
price
I don't
on
know.
it because it's still fairly new. So,
Yeah. It's hilarious. Like Evil Dead Rise is already down to $5 when it's on sale. I'm like, holy shit, that dropped like a fucking brick. So I don't know. I'm guessing for an A24 movie though, I assume it's going to stay up to like at least $8 at minimum.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
$10 may as well.
$5 for Evil Dead Rise. That's like probably as high as I'd go. And not that that movie is bad. It's just not. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's
It's
cool.
a $5
It's cool.
movie.
I'll give it that.
Yeah,
So, what have you guys been watching?
yeah.
And thank you for letting me do my spiel.
You want me to go next, Ken, or you want it?
I mean, I don't have a whole lot to be honest.
All right, go ahead then. I got a decent amount of stuff.
All right, so for Christmas, I was trying to watch like some things that I just have never gotten around to or hadn't watched in forever. So here is, I don't know, just a few movies. Elf, never seen it. I don't give a fuck if I ever see it again. You know, when a movie, and I sit there, I'm like, oh, Zooey Deschanel. I'm like, what else has she been in that's been terrible? And I'm like, oh yeah, The Happening. And by the end of Elf, I was like, no, somehow The Happening was a better movie to me. And it makes me sad because I really like the cast of Elf, and yet I laughed one whole time. Just one whole time. And that just, it makes me sad. So, Elf was not a success for me.
This is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I don't really like Will Ferrell movies.
I like his.
I like him when he's like the side character, but anytime he's the main character, I just
You're not alone. I have a couple of friends that told me the same thing. I'm like, I love Step Brothers and Anchorman and Talladega Nights and the other guys. Those are like the 4 big ones for me.
even
But
Blades of Glory. But like as soon as you put him front and center, it usually just kind of
he needs an ensemble cast, and he had that with Elf, but he was too much front and center. It hurt. It hurt. I don't know.
My wife loves Elf. I fucking
I know.
yeah.
I messaged her after. I don't know why. I just happened to message her, and she's like, "Yeah, you know, she liked it." I was like, "All right."
I'm of the same opinion as you. Like if I never saw it again, it wouldn't hurt at all.
Yeah. Another one I'd never seen was Polar Express. I'd heard everybody say that they don't like the animation, they don't like this, that. It seems like one of those movies that some people truly love, and then there's like a lot of maybe unnecessary hate on it. And I can't sit there and say it was a masterpiece or anything. It was perfectly average. The animation wasn't that bad. I didn't hate it, but I'll just say the one thing that took me out of the movie more than anything was the one kid who had the obnoxious voice. And the more I listened to it, I was like, holy shit, he played Mandark in Dexter's Lab. And he used the exact same voice. Like, he did not change the voice. So now I'm like watching a weirdly animated episode of Dexter's Lab, and I don't know, it's just not as fun anymore beyond that. So that was also a miss for me. Did any of you like Polar Express?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. I heard, like, kind of what you said. Tom Hanks is in it?
Tom Hanks plays like 4 different roles, and he's fantastic. I have nothing bad to say about that.
All I was going to say is I have not seen a Tom Hanks movie that I didn't like. I even like Bonfire of the Vanities a little bit. Yeah, I can't think of a bad Tom Hanks movie that I've seen. I'm sure there's one out there, but...
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I'm not like the biggest Sleepless in Seattle fan, but, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there probably is a couple.
I had not seen Die Hard since the fucking 90s, and that was a real treat for me. Like, I don't know, been 25 years or so. That movie still holds up. It holds
Are you
up
fucking kidding me? You don't watch it every fucking Christmas?
No.
I got my wife to watch all of them every fucking Christmas. Like, that's new awesome. Fucking thing for her. She had never seen them before we watched them last year, and she's like, oh my god. Yeah, so I come home the other day, she's watching Die Hard. I'm like, oh, you're watching it without me?
When I messaged her about Elf, she's like, yeah, I'm watching Die Hard tomorrow. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. That's actually what inspired me, was that kind of little conversation. So had a really great time, no complaints, probably will watch it more frequently now that I have fond memories. A movie that kind of I had fond memories, but now that I watched it recently, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is definitely a movie of its time, and I don't have the emotional nostalgia attachment to it that some people do, so the movie was fine. I'm not bad-mouthing it. I'm also probably not going to watch it for another 10 years or more. Honestly,
it doesn't hold up like I thought it would. Like last time I watched it, I was like, there was like that, the Clark rant by the Christmas tree. That was great, but like basically, I agree, and I do want to throw out there. Did you see Die Hard 2 this year?
No, I only watched the one. I have all of them, so maybe that might be a day for me.
Yeah,
like a full on.
It's almost a better Christmas movie. It's not like a better movie than Die Hard 1, but it's almost like a better Christmas movie, and it kind of gets better with age. Yeah.
They leaned into it real hard.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like ridiculous and amazing. Yeah. So.
Chris, what do you think about Christmas Vacation? Are you pro or meh?
I like it more than I did when I was younger because I am not a Chevy Chase fan. Again, unpopular opinion, maybe.
This podcast is full of them.
Unless you're on the cast of Community, in which case you're probably agreeing with me. I never disliked him, but like out of all of like the comedy icons from that generation, that Second City, Saturday Night Live group in the 80s, I always like Steve Martin, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, more than Chevy Chase, and like I liked some of the Vacation, like that's probably my second favorite. I think European Vacation might be my favorite. I think some of the other stuff he did, like Funny Farm, I think was a better movie. I remember watching both of those relatively close together, back to back, the first time I saw them. But yeah, I mean, Christmas Vacation's okay. It definitely, some of it's dated. Some of it still makes me laugh, but, nowhere near the level as like some of my other like go-to Christmas movies.
Yeah, it's definitely not on my go-to list anymore. Another movie that is on a lot of people's go-to is A Christmas Story, and I remember, especially like in my teenage years, I remember TNT, I think it was, would show it all night on Christmas Eve, and I couldn't find shit else on, so like I'd fall asleep to it, and I never disliked it. I just was like, ambivalent, I guess, whatever. And this time, while I was putting together my little like Lego Mimic figurine, I don't know. I enjoyed it a little bit more than I normally do. I'm not sure if it cracks like anything more than maybe a once every 10-year Christmas movie, but I didn't dislike it nearly as much as I normally feel that I just didn't care about. I know this is one of those movies that some people really are kind of pro and con with. You guys pro, con, meh?
The story. Yeah, it's a great movie. I just will never watch it again, probably. I've just, we would do the marathon every year, like growing up, and it's great. I won't say anything bad about it. I've seen it too many times, and I probably will watch it, but I could feel like I can go another 10 years without seeing it and kind of be able to bring up anything you want to talk about with the movie.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
I love the movie. Shit, I don't remember where the hell I rated it when we did our favorite Christmas movies, but it was on the list. But yeah, like I didn't watch it this year. I don't need to. I think the sequel, that had Peter Billingsley, not the one that not A Summer Story, the one with Charles Grodin. It was pretty decent. It hit the feels with the nostalgia and everything, but without just relying on it. I thought it was cool that like Flick and Schwartz were the actual they brought all of the actors back, not just Ralphie. So that was interesting. If you guys never saw that, so yeah, like I love the movie, but if it was on, I'd sit down and watch it. But I don't feel like the need to, I need to watch it this Christmas kind of thing.
Right. All right. I only have a couple more here. The Muppets Christmas Carol, which I saw for the first time either last year or the year before, and I was like, I thought it was good, but I'm always going to be a Mickey's Christmas Carol type of guy. I wanted to give it another chance. I think I liked it more this year, but I don't know if it's ever going to hit my Christmas rotation or not. There's nothing wrong with it. I think, maybe if I'd seen that before I'd seen Mickey's, maybe I would have, more for it. I don't know, but it's okay. It's fun. It's Muppets. Like, I don't know. Muppets are always kind of fun in their own way, but it's not the classic that some people make it out to be, for me at least.
Played it for family, and I didn't end up watching all of it, but like we had I just put it on Hulu, and it was on. Someone, my sister's mother-in-law mentioned it, so I put it on, and yeah, it's okay, but basically everyone mentioned that like all of the other Christmas carols that they preferred more than that one, and I was like, dude, we got kids here, I just put it on, like who cares? Like we're all talking anyways, so.
That's a perfectly good movie to have, though, for kids. Like, I think that's a perfect choice, to be honest.
Background Christmas music or movie, yeah, it was, yeah.
It's okay. I'm kind of this way about more of the modern Muppet movies, which I would consider that one, even though it's not, like the current Disney Muppet movies, but like, my favorite ones are the ones from the early to mid 80s when, Jim Henson was still alive. Muppets Take Manhattan, The Great Muppet Caper, the Muppet movie. Like, those are my three favorites. And, it's the same thing for, like, Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island. Like, the cast, between, like, Michael Caine and Tim Curry should be amazing, but they're just kind of meh to me. It's not bad. I like Mickey Christmas, but I don't know if that would detract my liking of the Muppet Christmas Carol. It's just that it's okay. It's not that great. It's not my favorite version of the Scrooge story. Let's put it that way.
Sure. All right. And before I do my last one, I have to say I got a 40th anniversary edition 4K of E.T., and it came with a lunchbox and a thermos, and it's pretty fucking awesome.
Fuck yeah.
I just need to share, because that was my very first movie I ever saw in the theater, so of course I had to get it. With that being said, and after a series of unpopular opinions, I'm just going to go for this. Every year I'm like, oh, should I watch this for Halloween? People are like, no, watch it for Christmas. And then it comes Christmas, I'm like, should I watch it? No, you should save it for Halloween. And I'm talking about fucking Nightmare Before Christmas. And after all these fucking years, I finally saw it, and whatever. I'm so fucking over this damn movie that I've heard so much about, and it wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad. But after all the hype, no. The songs were not that memorable, aside from Oogie Boogie or Boogie Oogie. I don't remember which.
Yeah, Oogie Boogie.
He was great. He was the star. He stole the show for me. But aside from that, I sit there and I'm like, okay, the animation style, like the mood of it's cool. I like that, but I can't sit there and tell you that there's a whole lot that stands out to me as like, oh, Jack Skellington's a great character. I don't know. He really didn't. Whatever. I liked the girl. I can't remember her name, and of course she was played by, what was it, Catherine O'Hara?
Yep.
O'Hara?
Yep.
I love her as an actress. I thought she was a good character. I liked the character, and I liked the mad scientist played by William Hickey, I believe, who was also in National Lampoons. There was stuff to like, but I guess it's just after all these years, after hearing so much, being told how much I would like it, and then to finally sit down and watch it, if I never see it again, I'm okay. I'm not the whiz disappointed, but I am very disappointed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Go ahead.
I was just enjoying what you were saying, Kent. You go ahead, Chris. I have my own.
I can appreciate how much work went into making it, because stop motion is not an easy thing to do. But I don't like the movie at all. Like, I didn't like it when it came out. It was 93. I would have been about 14. I think it was one of the most disappointing theater experiences I had had up to that point. And yeah, I don't get the love that people have for it. I mean, I just, like you said, the characters don't do it for me. The songs don't do it for me. The basic plot doesn't do it for me. I don't know.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And the same company's done. You know, I'm not just saying Disney, but the animators have gone on and done.
Did they do Corpse Bride and Coraline?
Yes, and I liked both of those. So I mean, it's not the creatives; it's just that particular movie.
Yeah. So you said you were 13, 14?
Yeah, so it would have been 13 or 14. It came out in 93, and I was born in 79.
Yeah, so I was 12 when it came out, probably 13, 12, 13 when I would have saw it on, like, home video. And I was pumped about it because I was, like, kind of in that age. But I sort of didn't really like musicals. And, like, it looked cool, but, like, the fact that it was a musical, like, bummed me out. And I kind of was, like, kind of stopped watching cartoons and realized wrestling was, not real the way I thought it was anyways. So I was kind of, like, growing past a lot of that stuff, and I got really stubborn. So I didn't like Nightmare Before Christmas when I saw it the first time. I was disappointed in it. And then I watched it all the way through for the first time, like, I don't know, like 2000, or whenever I got Disney Plus, like within a year since Disney Plus came out. So, like, like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. I watched it and tried, like, before I watched it, I was like, all right, I have to, like, separate all of this stuff about this movie, like the fact that it's, like, sold at ridiculous amounts at, like, the malls, Walmart, just how, it just how commercialized and mainstream this movie is, and, oversaturated with merchandise. I had to like separate all of that, and it's only okay.
It's a nice
Yeah,
piece of art in and of itself, but yeah, the hype does not match what the product is. So wow, I thought for sure you guys were both going to shit all over that opinion. I thought for sure.
yeah, I'm
So
surprised too when you guys
wow.
both went. I was like, oh my god, it's like almost the exact same way. Yeah, and I do want to add though, like their aspects of it are great, and I could see why people back then loved that movie because it was different. It did kind of go a little bit, it's the dark alternative to Disney, and I don't think there really was that outside of Tim Burton, and then at that time that I can think of. So
Right. I want to just throw out one last thing. If you watch Garfield's Christmas special, pay attention to how many different styles of music there are because it's incredible.
I will though.
All right, yeah, all right. Is that it, Kent?
I know I've seen other stuff, but I'm just forgetting stuff at this point. I'm actually really interested. You said you've been watching a lot of shows, so
Yeah.
I'm more interested in what you got to say.
Okay. So I keep fucking forgetting that you have Saw X on your Voodoo. So Kristen and I'll get around to that soon. But I saw that X and Renfield both came out on Prime the same week, and I haven't had a chance to get down and watch X yet with Krista because she wanted to see that too, and that's not the kind of thing we want to watch in front of our son. But we did watch Renfield, and I liked it. It wasn't great, but I don't think anybody was saying it was great. But Nicolas Cage made me laugh a bunch in that, and I was not prepared for it to be as gory as it turned out to be. I'm really liking Nicholas Hoult overall, and like the breadth of shit that I've seen him do over the past couple of years.
Did you watch him in The Menu?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I liked the movie, but I had problems with the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like I can't imagine being in that situation and just sitting down and taking it. Like, I'm like, no offense, but I might be out of shape, but I'll still put myself up over, like any 2 or 3 restaurant servers.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly. It was one of those things you just had to buy into and just go with the flow, I guess.
Yeah.
It was a weird movie, but I liked Nicholas in that movie.
Yeah. I'm a big Anna Taylor-Joy fan. I think she's fucking amazing and really hot. Krista, don't listen to this podcast. Anyways, so I saw that. I did see The Flash finally, and I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was really cool to see Michael Keaton again as Batman. I don't know how cool it was to see George Clooney as Batman, but
Is that the whole reason to watch it though? Is for Michael Keaton, like the nostalgia? aspect?
Ezra Miller wasn't bad in it. It was not a great movie, and it was hard for me to. I put it off so long, even though it was something I was interested in seeing, and like the fact that it's going nowhere. Just like the same thing with Aquaman. That's it. They're done. They're not. They're discontinuing that line. It was like, well, then what's the point if you're canceling this universe and you're trying to sell me on the next one. But it was pretty good. I've heard Aquaman was not very good, but we'll see. I also saw Blue Beetle, which I liked.
Liked it.
I guess a lot of people didn't, but I really like Joel Marijuana. I'm sorry if I butcher that name, because
I'm sure they're listening.
Well, Cobra Kai is one of my favorite TV shows that I can't really call it TV if it's a Netflix show, but it's one of my favorite shows that I've seen over the past couple of years, and I think he's, a good portion of why that is. So yeah, I saw that. I finally watched Violent Night the other night. I think I was talking to you guys right about the time when I finished it. That was
Yeah.
that was pretty good. It wasn't great, but like I could see them doing a sequel and maybe doing an even better job. Again,
Like leaning more into it, right?
yeah. That was another one though where like I didn't mind what's his name? John Leguizamo.
John, yeah, something's really weird in this world. Like past 5
John
years, he's
Leguizamo.
becoming
I
a little
always
more
have.
tolerable.
Not everything he did. Yeah.
There's like times that I really like him, and there's times that I don't. You know, like I thought like his version of the
didn't
Jerk
see
was
that.
fucking horrible.
The Jerk was the pest? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Or the remake one that he did. I was just like, and I don't know. Like I think he was interesting as Tybalt in Romeo and Juliet, but you know I don't know if that's necessarily like would have been my first casting choice. I did like him, like I said, in Moulin Rouge, and I thought he was great as the Violator in Spawn. But you know,
And The Happening, he was great.
I just don't like that movie. So I mean, the fact that you keep bringing it up is. Anyway,
It's the David Gordon Green of movies. Okay.
okay. I'll take your word for it. Anyways, so I saw that. I finally got around to finishing Loki season 2, and that was after Guardians of the Galaxy 3, probably the best Marvel thing that they've done in the last couple of years.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really, and they kind of solved the Kang problem, so to speak. I guess.
I'm really glad that Ke Kwan was in it. Like I loved him in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I thought he just did a really good job as what the hell was his name? Ouroboros in Loki season 2 as well.
Obi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Archer, the show's finale finally came out, so that was bittersweet for me. It was way better an ending than the season 14 finale would have been. But the fact that, you know, this show that I've been watching for 14 years and is kind of niche and cult and something that I've been able to get into is it's kind of sad. I'll miss it. My wife and I have been watching Reacher season 2 so far, and I really like the first season, and this one seems to be going pretty good as well. So here's hoping they stick the landing. I really enjoyed Sweet Home season 1 when it came out in 2019, and I just watched season 2. I binged it pretty much after it came out. It was not as good. Not bad by any means, but it was one of those shows where they did a time skip, like after a couple of episodes, and they don't like the new characters weren't necessarily as interesting as the old characters, nor was the setting as interesting as being stuck in the one apartment building. But like for the finale, they left so many loose ends. Which makes sense because they already filmed season 3 and it's coming out in like another 4 months. What else? 30 Coins, season 2, which was another one that I watched right around the same time that I watched season 1 of Sweet Home. Season 2 was fucking really good. It's got probably my favorite priest character ever in any kind of genre. Like this dude kind of sacrifices himself to kill the Antichrist in season 1, and then he's in hell fighting fucking demons with like a giant morning star. Like, this guy's fucking awesome. But they did some.
So he's slightly better than Padre in John Carpenter's Vampire.
Oh, he's way better, dude. Like, Padre doesn't even hold a candle to Father Vergara. But they do some really like they tie the religious horror to like Lovecraftian shit and aliens, and like tie it all together really interesting way. And like I said, in season 1, you know, like the first 3 episodes, you have monster, like a monster horror, body horror, and then a possession story. You know, episode to episode. So it's not the same. It's, you know, it's an overarching story, but it's not like just dialing itself into one type of horror. And I can't recommend it highly enough. It's also one of those shows that I found interesting is that everything is in its original language. So it's not like one of those ones where, they dub it all in English. But like, if they're in Spain, they're speaking Spanish, and then if those characters go to America later on, they're speaking English, and then Japan, they're speaking Japanese, kind of thing. So I found that interesting. I watched Blue-Eyed Samurai on Netflix, which I thought was a fucking great cartoon. If you guys haven't seen that,
No, I haven't even heard of it.
oh, it was done. Oh shit, it was done by the same animation company that did What If, but it's almost like a mixture between that and how Arcane looked.
Okay.
But it's a historical piece set in the 1630s Japan during the time period when all of the Europeans got kicked out of the country, and it's a really interesting revenge tale with a female main character who's not a Mary Sue. That was really cool. And then the last thing I watched, and I liked it, but I apparently am in the very small minority, was I watched Rebel Moon the night it came out, the Zack Snyder one on Netflix. And I thought it was a really interesting sci-fi movie. And then I go and see, and like everybody's just like shitting all fucking over it. So I do think the rated R version, 3-hour length run one that they've talked about, they've already filmed, they just haven't said when they're releasing it on Netflix, will be a better version than the one that I watched. But the one that I watched wasn't bad at all. Okay. So that's about it. I know there's other stuff that I can't remember right now that I've seen, but...
Did you watch the new Squid Games show? That was the thing I'd forgotten. I did watch that.
Krista watched it. I haven't seen it yet.
Honestly, I guess it has gotten more positive than negative. I feel very indifferent because it just is so much reality show, crying, blah, blah, blah. And it's like these people supposedly watched the show, so they kind of have ideas of what's coming up. And yet they make the exact same mistakes. And I'm like, what? I don't understand. Like, did they pay these people to act dumb, or did they just get really dumb people? I don't know. So it got frustrating from like the midpoint on for me. I still liked it. I was frustrated.
Yeah, I got you. All right. Either of you guys got anything else to bring up over the course of 2023?
Nah, I don't think so. I hope to just, kind of chill and get caught up on some shows that I really have been putting off for far too long. That's what my 2024 is about, catching up on shows more than movies. So not helpful for the podcast at all, and I don't care.
All right, well then, you want to go over what we're doing next month then, Kent?
Oh, I am delighted. I got to pick the topic 2 months in a row here, and we are going to watch the Masters of Horror Season 1 that was on Showtime around like 2005, I want to say, 2006. And for those who don't know what it is, it was a Showtime series. It was basically 1 hour horror movies directed by the Masters of Horror. Mick Garris got people together, and we'll go more into that, but I'm super excited. It's a really nice collection. I can't say the same about Season 2. I can't say the same about Season 3, which was Fear itself. But Season 1, there's so many good options, and I'm optimistic that you guys are going to like it as much as I do.
Well, that is actually something I'm really interested in seeing, because I've heard nothing but good things about a lot of the episodes. I never did see it, though, so this will be a first for me. I think, Kevin, you saw it before, right?
Yeah, he has. Kevin's having some technical issues.
All right, so at that point, then, I think we will say Merry Christmas, have a Happy New Year, and we will see you back in 2024 for our Master of Horror Season 1 podcast. Good night.
See ya.